이번 정규 시즌은 되게 혼란한 시즌이라고 생각을 해요. 메타가 이제 너무 급속도로 바뀌기도 하고 좀 적응하기 어려웠던 시즌인 것 같아요.
그냥 매 시즌마다 진짜 한두 경기 때문에 1, 2등 이런 것들을 좀 못하는 것 같아서 좀 아쉬웠던 것 같아요.
빠진 것들이 너무 많거든요. 이렇게.
1라운드를 어느 정도 잘 끝맞춰놔서 이대로만 하면 되겠다 싶었는데
네, 그래서
목표에 섰을 걸었고요. 아, 깔끔한 연결. 그 위쪽도 설마 기인이 대표.
KT 3세트 제가 많이 잘 컸어서 이제 캐리할 수 있었는데 좀 캐리를 못해서 그때가 제일 아쉬웠던 것 같아요.
애쉬공 맞았을 때 SKT전에서
나이에서 올려준 마필의 행의 수정화살 이후에 멋진 마무리까지.
바텀이 왜 콜을 해주지 않았나.
현재 가장 뜨거운 여름을 보내고 있는 곳은 바로 이곳 LCK가 아닐까 싶습니다. 끝까지 긴장의 끈을 놓을 수 없는 2018 LCK 서머 스플릿.
프로비라도 와일드 카드전이라도 가자, 오프리카라도 하자 해서
저희 위에 있는 팀들이 한 경기만 졌으면 좋겠다 뭐 이런 생각 정도만 하고 있었는데
점점 가능성이 없어져 가는 걸 보면서 이제 뭐 그러려니 했어요. 내 인생이 이렇구나.
저희가 못 이길 것 같진 않아요. 그래서 그냥 저희 하는 대로 준비만 하면 될 것 같다고 생각합니다.
기본만 지키고 이제 원래 잘하던 것들, 우리가 잘하던 것들 이런 것들만 계속 생각하면서 하면은 오히려 쉽게 이길 수 있지 않을까 생각해요.
이것도 좋은 경험이라고 생각하고 도장 깨기 해보면서 최대한 높은 자리까지 올라가는 게 저희 목표입니다.
저희의 위협은 저희입니다.
저도 그렇고 저희 팀이 좀 가을만 되면 좀 확실히 실력이 좀 좋아지는 것 같아요. 그래서 이번에도 저희가 우승해야 되지 않을까 싶어요.
Welcome everybody to another fantastic day of LCK, and today's a special one, guys. It is the wild card, the first match of the playoffs for LCK Summer 2018. I am Valdez, with me is Papa Smithy as always. How are you doing, Papa?
It's all stuck up on us, I think. The fact that the playoffs are so fast after what was the fastest LCK season of all time. We're going to throw it straight to an interview at the start. Coaches, of course, going to have something to say. Gen.G versus Afreeca. Only one team can go forward in the playoffs.
It's going to be a fun one. I'll hand it to G-Sun to help us with the translation of the interview.
So let's start with Woo-Bum Choi, the head coach of Gen.G Esports. Well, Gen.G has secured its spot in higher rank all throughout the summer split. I can say you must be quite confident, aren't you?
1, 2, 3, 4의 순위가 다 승패가 똑같아서
You know, we were so close in competition for the higher ranks, and it's really sad that we remained in the fourth place, but we're gonna make sure to recover all of our mistakes. I think what really matters is to get rid of all the mistakes in today's game.
Afreeca
Freecs.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
하마터면 포스트 시즌
Well, you guys did struggle to find your way through the postseason, but you guys made it.
자, 2회 연속
And
결승
you guys
진출을 노릴 수 있는
had the
기회가
opportunity to
생겼는데요.
reach
그러기
the finals
위해서는
2 times in a
오늘
row.
것 같습니다.
So how did you prepare for today's match?
우선 정규 시즌과 다르지 않게 3전제고
Just as always,
저희는 정규 시즌 준비하듯이 똑같이
we just practice hard as we normally do.
뭐 이전 경기와 조금 다른 점이 뭐냐라고
The different point would be
물어보시면 좀 결과를 쫓지 않는
we should be too concerned about the results.
내부적으로 과정이 더 중요하다라고
I
생각을
think
해서
the way we prepare the match is so important. So we're just trying our best to get rid of all the pressures.
될것 같습니다. 네. 그렇게 크게 안. 네. 예.
좋습니다. 이렇게 각자 준비한 것이
So I
남다르게
guess
있는
all the
느낌인데요.
teams have
두
special
감독님들만큼이나
tips for going into the
아무래도 좀
playoffs, and also I can say all of the players would be so willing to pick up the first victory for the postseason.
경기를 앞두고 있는
So is
선수들에게
there any last message for your players?
들어보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 최우공 감독님.
네, 뭐 열심히 했으니까
You guys
저는
prepared
사실 좀
so hard.
늦게 쉬고 싶어요. 오늘
And I want all the players to take a very last, very last vacation. You know, I want them to have a long race in the playoffs.
말은 좀 경기에 대한 부담감을 내려놓자라고
Well, I did tell them to get rid of the pressures, but
그 결과에 조금 일희일비하지 않는 그런
so I want them to stay calm throughout today's series.
선수들이 두 감독님의 말씀대로 멋진 모습 보여주길 기대하도록
This will be the
하겠습니다.
end of the interview with Ubom Choi and Yeonsung Choi from Gen.G and Afreeca Freecs. Thank you.
여러분들께서도 이 두 팀에게 아주 큰 응원 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 지금부터 2018 LCK 썸머 스플릿 와일드카드를 바로 시작하겠습니다.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for that wonderful translation. Always fantastic to hear from the two coaches before we do get into this epic match. And guys, it is the wild card, so it is just one best of three to decide who is going to go up against Kingzone in the first round of the playoffs for Summer.
Guys, did not know, on the left of the screen, the Gen.G coach is Coach Edgar, of course, a World Championship coach now after Gen.G, then Samsung Galaxy won last year. On the right, StarCraft 1 legend I Love Uv was the coach of Afreeca Freecs. Nofe, it's not Nofe, I should say, Zephyr and also Comet are the more common coaches we talk about with Afreeca, but the head coach, always been that thing. Of course, in the previous SKT days, it was the head coach Carter and Koma as the drafting coach. Now Koma, the head coach of SKT. So the coaching staff is always a bit weird. The one thing I did notice, though, damn is I Love Uv tall.
He towered
He's
over
really
the two
tall.
of them, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, he got braces, so he's joining the crew.
Synergy.
A lot of us over here in Korea are, you know, looking to get handsome as we go along, and it's definitely working for Uv. But we'll see if his team is handsome as well, because he has a really hard matchup ahead of him. It's definitely Afreeca and the rest of everybody else above them. So a big matchup. But speaking of which, let's introduce our teams. Gen.G over here on the left side. Going to be our favorites for tonight, but let's see who they do play. It is going to be that standard lineup that you're all used to. A bunch of the players also picking up some haircuts. Speaking of getting handsome before the games, looking good.
Everyone's going to look as streamlined as possible. Get it all together, get it on the rift, because we have an amazing matchup here today. Gen.G for sure feel frustrated. They finished the season in 4th and only have side selection in the first round of the playoffs to show for the same match score as first place. The top 4 teams ended 13 best-of-3 victories, 5 best-of-3 losses, but only 12 game wins over game losses means that Gen.G have to play the entire way through the playoffs. They crashed out to SK Telecom T1 in the spring wildcard match, and they want to put that to one side and find a victory today.
It's not going to be easy, especially here in the best of 3 for the wild card. Let's go ahead and look at our second team tonight, the Afreeca Freecs. Going to be the challengers coming up from 5th place. We had a little spoiler as we did show the booth, but yes, it will be Kramer starting once again here instead of aiming down in the bottom side. Outside of him, it's just your regular lineup that you would expect from Afreeca.
Rest of the squad, of course, are in the studio. Saw Mowgli earlier. Everyone feeling it. Kramer starting is an intriguing one. Patch changing to patch 8.15, and those crit items getting cheaper does mean there's the potential that Kramer won't be on the awesome dudes, but might be on something crazy like a Jinx or a Twitch that we know he's played in the past. See what Afreeca Freecs' read on the meta is. Remember, this team also had a precipitous drop. They are your runner-up team from LCK Spring 2018, and yet they only confirmed their status in the playoffs at the expense of Hanwha Life 2 days before the season ended. Keen on your screen had some wonderful passages. May have been our best top laner overall over the course of LCK Summer, but Afreeca Freecs really haven't found their stride in recent memories. So we're gonna update you guys on where we're at. Gen.G versus Afreeca today, the 12th of August. We'll be back again on Wednesday here at the Nexon Arena. Saturday, for the semifinal, and then as you can notice with those dates, a very long wait, 3-week break until the grand final.
A long, long one. We'll see you over there. I'll be joining to watch in Incheon. Should be a fun one. But guys, we will be on patch 8.15 today, which means a lot of different changes to different stuff in the game.
Big takeaway is Akali is globally banned in Korea for the entire playoffs. So was live in the LCS regions. The reasoning is that, of course, disruption like a new rework champion in the regular season is one thing, but in playoffs, with a small turnaround, not enough to actually get practiced on the Akali. So no Akali means more red side bans are available, given that she is considered first pick, first ban status over in the EU and NALCS. The crit itemization changes we'll get into. The nitty-gritty of it is marksmen are back. You will see marksmen basically every game. Perfect timing going to 10 minutes means less of it, although it's been up and down in recent memory. The champion change I'm most interested in is the Fizz one, because Fizz got a massive buff on patch 8.15, and with Kali not available, Fizz does loom as this new figure in the mid lane that could actually be picked quite a lot.
And this is another exciting thing we have for the matchup, guys. 13 and 13 in the past 2 years, starting from 2017 spring. These two teams, they have been very, very evenly matched. Up until now, I suppose one team is going to take the victory 2-1 tonight, is what we would expect. Question is, who is it going to be to overcome the other? Let's take a look at Gen.G. They don't give up first blood. They often give up the first blood, but it doesn't really affect them. They're more so slow and steady to win the race.
And all our long-time champions viewers could actually apply that to a single Gen.G player. Ambition was famous for giving up first blood, but still being the best mid laner in the pre-FLICKR era. So Gen.G, early game, as we know, very defensive. Gen.G's playstyle is an open book to both teams. It's why it's such an intriguing match, because both these teams have been complimented for their preparation. But when it comes to Gen.G, it feels like Gen.G know how Gen.G want to play, Afreeca know how Gen.G want to play, but how do Afreeca Freecs want to play? They really are the wild card in this wild card match.
That's the way it works, I suppose. Afreeca, the only team that's going to know what they will bring in, what crazy picks they'll bring in. Of course, they'll always have their fantastic vision score. It's been first for the entire summer, and probably for spring as well. We mention it every time. Definitely a bit more aggressive than Gen.G will be. We'll see if they can bring the action to them. But guys, before we do get to pick and ban, we have a small little video to show you. So we're going to jump straight to that and see you in a we're back. Sorry about the lack of sound, but I suppose for you guys, it doesn't matter because you don't speak Korean and you saw the English subtitles.
Hey, we have some Korean viewers. To those, apologies, could not get you the player's sound out there. But it sounds like we're almost ready for pick and bans. Somehow, we clicked our fingers, LCK Summer is over, and the playoffs are about to kick off.
We're right in there, guys. I hear my favorite song, and it looks like we're ready to jump into pick and ban for game one.
All right, so opening up, let's see how the blue side meta is on patch 8.15. Still feels like there'll be 2 required bans. Again, reiterating, Akali is banned for the entire playoffs in Korea. No, she's available in EU and NA, but to avoid disruption into the pick bans in Korea, we won't see Akali. The end result, actually, the good news about that is people are like, oh, I wish we could see Akali. Well, you would just see her on the red side, and then there'd be 3 required red side bans. And then the meta might get into a weird spot. It would be even more of a bias towards blue side, and recently blue side has been favored. Notice that Afreeca Freecs, they're throwing the first wild card in. Feels like we're going to say that a lot today. They ban away the Tom Kench on red side. They do not ban the Talia. And final ban is actually Ash. Ruler, before this game started, had won 9 consecutive games on Ash and was 12-3 over the course of the season. Taliyah will be first picked. We'll see if it is to Fly or Ambition. I think it's Afreeca Freecs saying, hey, we don't really care about Taliyah as much because Ambition is usually on the Sejuanis of the world. And Fly, if you're blind picking mid lane Taliyah, something like a LeBlanc is going to be deadly into that matchup.
And you know what else just got buffed a little bit is a little bit of Olaf, which is pretty decent into the Taliyah. Maybe you say, oh, we shore them into going into that first pick Taliyah. It's very, very predictable. We take away the Varus. There's no Ashe to fall back upon. We also get the good pick of Shen. And then we keep that third pick a mystery until the end.
Surprising to see the Varus priority so high. Actually seeing it here on patch 8.15 when a lot of champions in the marksman role are definitely powerful for different reasons. Zaya Rakan is open here. We've also been informed the Gen.G skins are available today. Turned out on 8.14 they weren't available in the Korean tournament realm. So are we going to see Ruler and Core JJ play the Lovers bot lane after all? The Rakan so far, the only one locked in.
Yeah, Rakan locked in. I kind of feel the Zaya feels coming through. Seems like a pretty easy ban if they don't pick it up here. You're talking about different junglers for Kyuve, but how
this
about
should be cool.
Sever
All right,
coming in?
We were surprised to see the Varus priority because picks like Twitch and Jinx and Sivir do exist with a lot of itemization getting cheaper. And Sivir getting a big buff on the previous patch, 8.14, the Orianna style buff, where her Q went from 9 seconds to 7 seconds. More wave clear, more burst. Is it going to be an Essence Reaver build? Will it just be into Storm Razor for even more crit into the base and more burst? There's many different ways to approach this. Also, Afreeca Freecs realize if they want the Olaf into Taliyah matchup, they're going to have to make an educated guess, because this could still be the mid lane Taliyah coming through from Gen.G.
Yeah, I mean, you were mentioning that before, but haven't seen the mid lane Taliyah in quite a bit. We'll have to see if Ambition wants to step up. I'm sure all the top tier junglers know how to play that Taliyah, but you take a look at the LeBlanc ban and you begin to second guess.
There are other matchups that work into Taliyah, but LeBlanc is one you don't want to pilot. The Azir also is one of those other ones that you would consider, but it's very interesting. LeBlanc coverage bans are going to be very common on this patch because things like Azir and Taliyah can't really lane into it. But first pick Taliyah when you don't have a jungler recognized for as much Taliyah. Ambition plays it in solo queue, but hasn't played at the highest level. Does hamstring you a little bit. The Orianna ban comes out, Afreeca leaving their options open. Here we do see the GP ban to start thinking out the top lane pool, but the Gnar, of course, Kyuve, very famous for that Gnar, is available.
Yeah, and you see the Orianna ban as well. It seems like Afreeca's not buying into their mid lane Taliyah just yet, but we're going to find out right now. Swain is also going to be picked up here. You would have to think that would go into the mid lane, but I guess at this point it still could be flexed.
There's a lot of things going on here on the side of Afreeca. Note that his barrier as the summoner on the mid laner right now. It could be mid lane barrier Varus, just wave clear. And that would also explain the priority going as high as second pick on the red side a little bit. We'll wait and see. Gen.G are getting a lot of Gen.G skins together on the blue side, as that probably is going to be either top lane or jungle on the Jarvan. We have seen it, of course, from Smeb very recently into the Camille matchup. See where we go from here. The last pick going to be mid lane. So this would actually be jungle Taliyah after all, and Ambition finally going to play it in competitive play. The Zillion, an old Fly special. This has been going on a lot over for C9. Jensen returning to a lot of that Zillion recently. I wondered if we would see Kindred Zillion as a duo. Instead, it's just Fly's famous mid lane Zillion.
You know, we don't get to see too much Zillion, but I suppose if there is going to be one guy, it will be Fly, and we didn't expect much mixing up from Gen.G, but this does not look like a draft they would have brought in on 14. And speaking of which, we got some new stuff here. It's a best of 3, guys. Both teams throwing caution to the wind and bringing in new picks.
And this is the Afreeca Freecs we thought we might see today. The preparation, having their own picks. Going to be Ignite top lane Quinn from Keen. He's playing it in solo queue, so I wondered if he would return to it. Match up into the Jarvan. Afreeca Freecs are going for the mid lane Varus as we previewed. Kramer will be on the bot lane Swain. Now we're seeing the Afreeca Freecs of old that could really pull the wool over the eyes in Champion Select. waiting until 20 seconds to get the ultra confirmation on where everyone is going. But Afreeca Freecs will have Ignite top lane Quinn. I don't think he's going teleport. This would be a return to Trace. Ironically, the drafting coach of Gen.G, who was, when he was on Jin Air as a top laner, a top lane Ignite Quinn player.
Yep. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. Had a little stat there for Kramer too. He only has 22 KDA on his 2-0 Swain. He's only played 2 games of it, and we don't get to see Kramer too often, but they're bringing him in, and they want to make that Swain Shen bot lane work together. The mid lane Varus, Olaf, and Quinn. This is the Afreeca I know and love.
And what is this draft but win lane, win game on the side of Afreeca? They are saying, whatever gets us good lanes, we'll let Spirit counter jungle. And I think Spirit's going to try and run a pain train all over Ambition's Talia.
That's going to be the fun part. Ambition, he's played 5 different junglers. That's it. He doesn't have the broadest champion pool. Haru's been subbed in a bunch of times to play the more aggressive stuff. Talia can farm decently well. We'll see if he can put the aggression on or if he's just going to sit back and play super passively and let Spirit just run all over him.
Gonna have a couple of seconds here just to work out final issues before we go in. Not a drafting issue, although I'm sure Ruler is sitting there saying, what happened in this draft? Afreeca Freecs. Well, Kramer's flexing his muscles. We wondered, why is Kramer playing today? Clearly they have a pre-planned strategy to Afreeca Freecs. This team with such a big drop after Rift Rivals. Go into the details there, but haven't looked like the same team since they were the ones selected by the Korean coaches to be that last representative in Game 5. Of course, could not get the victory over RNG, and it seemed to really take a toll on individual players. Some of Tucson's performances post-Rift Rivals were on the wane. Their recent series look better, but how much can you draw over a victory over MVP? Seems like a sound issue, by the way, is just to update you guys, but let's get all those issues done, and then let's get to a fun Game 1, because if this is Game 1, I don't even know what Game 2 could possibly provide.
Well, they're bringing it out here in Game 1. We all know what it's like when it's a best of 3, there's playoffs on the line, and you lose Game 1. You never want that to happen, so they're going to come out swinging, both teams, for Game 1 to try to get ahead.
Spirit laughing on the screen. He's probably saying, yeah, Lulu second game. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, well, he got to play Quinn with Ignite, so like...
How about Rumble? Rumble in the jungle?
Yeah.
I like that.
I like Rumble mid lane.
Papa likes that.
Rumble mid lane. Rumble everywhere.
Yeah.
I hope I don't have to wait till the LCK final to see some Rumble smap. Waiting much later. In 1 month's time. Keen on your screen. Seem to be torn between Kled and Quinn, and that's the kind of night I can appreciate when those are the 2 picks. Like, this is all I got, guys. I only own 2 champions, Quinn and Kled. Make it work.
Still waiting for the Garen too. It's not really on the same level, but I feel like it's pretty cool in the top lane. All of the Gen.G players have been forced to take off their headsets as it may be a team-wide issue.
I'm loving the cheerful there that Core JJ had in front of him. A lot of fun going around. Huge crowd here. The playoffs was entirely sold out within 10 minutes from what I understand.
Yep.
I believe there'll be more tickets revealed for the final when the actual opposition team is revealed. They don't like to sell all the teams before both teams are locked in at the moment, I believe. So I imagine, again, I don't actually know this Soul Casper that patrols the ticket sales stuff, but everything sold out quickly. It's going to be a fun one here. Will it be a return to the 2-game, 2-0 super fast wildcards? Or will we get a 3-game series like the last time that Afreeca faced Gen.G? That was 3-game victories on the blue side. Afreeca Freecs picking up a very narrow win, 2-1.
Well, guys, we got the information. It's no time for delaying anymore. There are no more issues. It has been solved. So it looks like we're just about ready to jump into game number 1. This should be very close.
Yep.
Definitely what we're expecting is the 2-1 victory for either side.
Where's that countdown, Valdez? I'm waiting for it.
Waiting for it. Looks like it's here, guys.
Yeah.
So let's jump into game number 1. Gen.G up against the Afreeca Freecs.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을
I bet there are plenty of fans at home that want a pizza delivery. We've got a pizza delivery. Sivir coming in the bot lane. Cool to see the Sivir here. I actually was speaking to Core JJ before the game started, and I was like, what about Twitch and Jinx right now with the patches and the buff to the 80 items and the buff on 814? He said, yeah, and what about Sivir? And turns out he was. Turns out he wasn't fibbing. He was believing in the Sivir, but Sivir is only the second most interesting thing we see. We do get Ignite top lane Quinn. Speaking of Ignite top lane Quinn.
Oh boy, they didn't expect the Shen from the Baron pit. Cuvée gonna be forced to flash here at level 1 before the festivities even begin.
All right, well, that's gonna be no fun for Cuvée. Level 2, he'll have an escape, but you want to use your Q to have any sort of lane presence against Ignite Quinn. Good luck with that one. You are dead. So that's going to be a bad time in the top lane for Gen.G. Well, they're going to the second brush here. Remember, on 8:14, there was the shortened cooldown from 9 to 7 on the Boomerang Blade. We're on 8:15 today. So the big update there, of course, is the 80 carry items. And I'm interested to see, will it be Storm Razor? Will there be an Essence Reaver in the Sivir build, which has a lot of synergy with their kit? We don't have the answer to that. We also have the answer to Core JJ. Just won't be rocking that Samsung Galaxy skin.
What is it with these guys? Why don't they want to use their skins?
I don't know.
If I had a skin made for me, I'd be using that every game. Maybe they feel like it's pretty lame. Nice dodge there by Ruler. Good juke. Start off the match. And, well, in the top lane, you know, losing your flash for Cuvée, I would say, well, if there's any top laner I would respect to not die and play safely, it would be Cuvée. But he's up against Keen. Definitely one of the better performing top laners, I should say, so far for Summer.
Looking over the runes here. Going to be obviously super offensive from Keen. Afreeca Freecs seem to have understood the tendencies of Gen.G, and this was kind of what we were previewing when we were setting the scene for this really fun first match of the playoffs in Korea. Is Gen.G play Gen.G's way. They will play the same style, slow in the early game, low gank presence, pretty small champion pools, effective champion pool of 3 or 4. By effective champion pool, guys, I mean the champions they will actually play and perform on at one time is usually 3 or 4 picks. In the meta, Ruler's played about 5 champions all season because he never jumped onto the hype train of the awesome dudes like the Swain we see from Kramer. So given that, Afreeca Freecs, who and what they were for the finals remained up in the air. Were they back to inventive drafting from spring? Were they the same team that has been slumping since Rift Rivals? 4 wins, 6 losses since that Rift Rivals tournament. They went for the early Varus, and we said, of all the champions, Varus with all the changes, but of course, it was the Varus mid lane flex. It set up the Quinn last pick. They seem to have a pre-plan here, and if it leads to win lane, win game, maybe they can just roll over Gen.G in the early game.
Yeah, and we've seen what that lethality Varus from the mid lane can do in recent times. A lot of different teams trying to pick it up and make it work. It's pretty good into squishy champions. You look at the side of Gen.G, well, there's a good 4 of them. We'll see if the Jarvan does go into a more tanky build. Would probably expect at least a bit of armor going up against Quinn. He's going to need it if he wants to try to survive. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm most excited, you know me, I love to play my Taliyah, but Ambition on the Taliyah. First time for Summer. Can he actually make it work against Olaf is a really big question.
Our understanding of Taliyah jungle actually evolved over the season. The pick obviously didn't see much play because it was banned so frequently, but what I'm trying to say is, at the start you're like, man, it has to be Peanut and Umti, the really mechanical young junglers that'll play the Taliyah and get value, but by the end, some of our best Taliyah players were Score and Tarzan, you know, more of the pathing junglers, just because Taliyah rolls up and her implied burst range is so high that if you path well as Taliyah and she's already quick to begin with, you just force no-go zones for the enemy, get buffs, steal away things, and then the game just ends in your advantage. So if Ambition can find that, that can be big, but Ambition really is a farmer. He really does stay on his own side, and that's why Spirit shouldn't be surprised to find Ambition at his Grom.
Yeah, Ambition doesn't like to give up many different camps at all. Trying to go for the counter engage here after Tucson does miss the taunt. So far it has just been Ruler and Core JJ getting ahead down in the bottom side. It's kind of what you would expect early game up against the Shan, the melee support, and the Swain. But that's good news for Ambition. He comes in. He doesn't clear that control ward, though, so they see him going up to the top side.
A lot of river vision, but no deep vision, and that's the second or third time we've seen Ambition just hover around top. Cuvée will have his flashback up, and notice there's no true CS lead here for Keen, and the wave has been in a really awkward spot. Quinn hasn't been able to harass or deny CS away. So Cuvée actually with smart lane positioning and Keen's inability to truly punish has never been able to actually snowball the lane after that level 1 advantage.
Yeah, and the flash is going to be up now, so there's not much he can do in terms of trying to push it even harder. And the good news is that that control ward is still there. Ambition did not really clear that out, and they have so much vision towards the top side. Maybe they can spot him if he goes for a gank. Level 6 Jarvan is a really nice gank assist if you want to go onto anyone.
And if you guys want to know where this game is going in terms of the comps as the game goes on, consider that we have Ignite top lane Quinn. We already had one top lane Quinn game that was played by Tal for SKT. They got a big lead that couldn't close because, of course, not so useful in the siege. Has to be on a split push. Team fighting usually doesn't find a lot of value unless the team is way ahead. And then, okay, that's one thing. You're like, okay, maybe not the latest game. And then what about mid lane Varus? What does that do? Well, really good in the mid game with a couple of lethality items. Doesn't do Baron very fast. Is the only true marksman on the lineup here next to the Quinn. Very good in the mid game. Afreeca really do fall off very hard with this comp. Swain only team fights as well. So Baron bait and siege around the Baron is all they can do. True siege, team fighting going to be so tricky unless they get a gold lead. They really did index and ignite Quinn to get Spirit rolling. He has strong lanes to jungle around. He needs to be pulling off these steals.
Trying to hit it on over to the left side. It looks like Ambition actually picked up the blue, so the pressure does work down there. Another knock up in the bottom side. We're always seeing this work out for Ruler Core JJ, but kind of unfortunate that the Zillion does not get the blue buff, especially up against the hard-pushing lethality Varus in the mid lane, because he can't spam his bombs now.
There's going to be a lot of those unfortunate moments, but there's so much light at the end of the tunnel. Sivir is so powerful with 3 to 4 items, and those items are cheaper. There is less gold efficiency on some of the items. Doesn't matter how efficient an item is if you can't damn afford it, Valdez. And they're going to get that. That's the buff here, is that 700 gold is how much you save on a 3-item Sivir build. That's so big for actually getting yourself online in the game. And once she's online, the very good in isolation 2v2, 1v1 Afreeca Freecs comp is not going to be as useful in a 5v5. So Gen.G is just going to once again be slow and steady, and we need to see Afreeca actually make things happen.
Afreeca really trying to close down and not let them take the blue buff. The flash on in and the pull by the Swain. Ambition in so much trouble, and down he will go, and they're linking to take more down here on the bottom side. Core JJ and Ruler. We'll see if they can get that damage down. Not going to happen as the rest of them do back off, but they get that very crucial first blood.
That was so important for Afreeca to actually make something happen, but cruelly for Gen.G. It's their own mistake, it's their own invade that's actually turned away from them. Ambition, feeling too frisky, walks up, dies with everything available. He's taken down, and all Gen.G need to do is once again lose the minimum. It's what this squad should have on the door of their practice room. Just, we'll get there, we'll scale. You know, late game is our bastion. They push up here, they think they have priority. But once again, Tucson with the super play. This guy is so good when he's feeling confident.
Yeah, and feeling confident in a lot of playoff games as well. It's funny the way that one works, but you knew that once the taunt hit, he was dead. I mean, there's no getting away, especially with the extra pull from the Swain passive. You're just going to die. They're not able to fight off anymore, of course, as Tucson wasn't in there, and no never move available for Kramer, so just pushed him back. But a really good start here for Afreeca, who now have more than 1,000 gold ahead of Gen.G.
And we've been focusing on what Gen.G have later. Let's talk about what Afreeca have very soon. Lethality item, let's say Ghostblade or Duskblade on Varus. Certainly going to be more powerful than the Rod of Ages on Zillion. The Blade of the Ruin King Quinn with Ignite has kill pressure in lane and roams first, so that's going to be another 1-item power spike. In general, at 1 item, they're more powerful. At 2 items, they're probably more powerful. But because 3 items is cheaper on Ruler, now that the builds have gone down in cost on patch 8.15, there's also a small nerf onto Quinn. It has to be about Afreeca seizing the first 25 minutes and stopping this game from going to 35. That is how they need to approach the game. And so 1 kill in the early game definitely doesn't reach the dock. They haven't punched that ticket to a victory in game number 1. It's also the sort of draft they might have to completely abandon for game number 2. So the surprise factor is big, but actually seizing these objectives is what we will grade this draft upon.
Yeah, look at the way that this game is going, too. You talked about trying to get an early lead. Spirit's already, right when the Rift Herald starts, he starts it. The funny thing is that Gen.G actually had a ward to spot this right in the river, so they know that Spirit did spot this. Trying to get the scuttle now here is Ambition, and he will, but he smites, so they're thinking about going for an engage, actually, as Ambition, he does have his flash, but here's the Quinn, and look at that first damage. Ambition has nowhere to go, and unfortunately, he's going to be 0-2 already. Kramer going to do the zoning job that Swain always does. Looks like the Rift Herald also should go to Afreeca.
Ends up being a 2-for-1 special. The Rift Herald stayed leashed the entire time, Valdez. Thoreau doing a lot of damage mid lane. It's a good matchup for Varus into the Zillion, especially as you mentioned earlier with the blue buff being contested. He's in definitely a spot of frustration trying to double bomb the wave without taking his entire health bar. Spirit, he's really trying to make this a quick game. Cuvée, he's already a threat of being dived.
Not going to dive him here. Spirit is spotted. Who's thinking about it, but decide against it. Quinn, Keen here low on mana as well, so he will just back off, use that enhanced recall. I'm going to be curious to see where he decides to push in terms of a lane. Will he try to go mid, where already the Varus has a gigantic lead, or maybe try to help out one of the other lanes here?
I think he should just battle ward. So far, they've been killing Talia basically every time they can, as Tucson will skip out here.
You know, Tucson with no flash, that should have been a very easy engage, but they kind of messed that one up, honestly. We've seen Core JJ and Ruler be so clean and so good at winning their matchups, but so far it has not been the case.
And when you're Gen.G, you know, you're not happy that you're in 4th place, but you look at your schedule and say, wait, we have the good matchup into King Zone. We beat them in both round robins. This best of 5, we're feeling great about. King Zone is huge Afreeca Freecs fans today because they have traditionally always beaten Afreeca and KT. They would love to play Afreeca in the best of 5 and not Gen.G. But Gen.G, you know, some of those executions a little bit off. They had to take the Talia. It was open at first pick. Ended up going jungle for Ambition, and right now he's kind of playing it in terms of spacing like a Sejuani or a tank and being taken down a couple of times. Gen.G, if you just lose to a Quinn top lane and then another creative draw from Afreeca, you're going to feel like you've been cheated out of the playoffs. But it's fast becoming a reality here unless they can find their footing in this game.
It's going to be a rough one. You would like to just go as far as possible so you have a good position in the Worlds qualifier, but Gen.G so far has not been impressing here in game number 1. You mentioned how, you know, all they have to do is just back off, wait for the late game, but unfortunately they haven't been able to do that. Maybe a little bit of nerves, you know, just trying to get ahead of the enemy team, trying to take too big of risks. So far it has not worked out for them. Look at Spirit waiting for Ambition to just come on in here. Ambition already 0-2. Still has his flash, by the way. Has not been able to use that one.
It's been seized upon a couple of times, creative gank while they got the Rift Herald. Kane's going to have lane pressure. He's got a red buff, so good luck with that one, Cuvée. Cuvé's actually done really, really well in this lane. He started with no flash, and it's down 20-odd CS against a red buff Quinn. So, yep, absolutely, you'll take it. Draft definitely being punished, though. Gen.G, the Jarvan didn't work out. The Talia first pick, waiting to see if we can find some later value. Spirits pop the Predator.
They know that Ambition is here. He walked over a ward. Easy dodge from the seismic shove as he is in vision. Just scaring him a little bit. Keen is already looking scary, by the way, with his Blade of the Rune King red buff. You're mentioning his lane presence, but I wonder when he's going to start affecting other lanes. Maybe try to make his way down towards the bottom side.
Here's that Rift Herald mid lane. Fly takes a big burst. Won't be able to take this with one charge.
Yeah, but the bottom lane here from Afreeca is going to group up. Lucky on the turn there from the Rift Herald, but it doesn't matter. Keen gets the first roam. Kive's like, do I go back? What do I do? Do I push? And he's not there, and that means that Afreeca are going to accelerate this game.
And this is what we wanted to see from Afreeca with this drop. This is what Ignite Quinn does. In lane, you have Ignite, so every top laner who's ever played solo rank knows what that means. You're always afraid to take the same trades. You'd be confident your damage calculation now needs to be 300 or 400 damage increased biased because of that Ignite range, and then the roaming shoes are on, comes mid lane first, out-rotates teleport most of the time, unless you're teleporting really early. So the advantage top lane does spill into the mid lane. Suddenly the Zillion is going to have the minions push all the way into the inner turret. Things starting to go away from Gen.G, and it's not all been about Afreeca. It's been their own misplays and Afreeca's smart plays. And now represent a 2,600 gold lead from Afreeca. Work not done. They need to keep it up.
Yep. Keep the aggression on and do not let this Sivir scale. He's going to have a zillion in his back pocket. Even if the Talia does die and get behind a little bit, is still going to be very powerful eventually. Jarvan with a nice engage alongside Rakan. You don't want to make a mistake in the mid lane after not accelerating the game and then just die to one engage into Baron and then somehow Gen.G come back and win. So Afreeca, they know what they're doing. They're a very smart team, right? I'm sure their coach identified this in the draft and told them exactly how they need to play this game.
Unfortunately, though, for Afreeca, I can't use the same boilerplate points. The big thing for them when we were trying to explain them to new viewers in LCK Spring Final was, this is the drafting team. They're amazing at it. They've had some really bad drafts since Rift Rivals. They've been out of sync. They've had individual members who were MVP candidates fall away, as Keen is just being Quinn in the top side. They've been so smart in the draft, is what I would say. In this game, they've returned to that, but I can't give them the full benefit of the doubt because Afreeca have been way more up and down. Consider their match score compared to spring season. It's just so much lower. They lost an extra 3 best-of-3s this season. They lost so many more games. It's been a pretty woeful season for Afreeca Freecs, but this is the return to form that vindicates them being in the top 5.
It's the playoffs, you know. They just barely got in. You mentioned before that with the help of KT, they were able to make it over Hama Life. And here they are, up against a really strong team. All the other teams ahead of them were 13-5, and it's kind of just like the Elite Four for them, basically. They got to fight through every single super strong team that we have left available here in Korea.
And I love that analogy because there was 4. There were 4 teams at 13-5, same match score. Afreeca Freecs, imagine them not being one of those teams. It's amazing, given they were second place in spring, but they're trying to show that those 18 best-of-3s mean something. A victory today, being clutch, means oh so much more. Here's another early objective. If Gen.G get anything on the map, a Drake, a Baron, anything like that is huge against the run of play. No Baron spawning just yet, even a turret. Given the strength of the lanes in top and mid, and at this point, Kramer has 5 points in his in his Q, so can control the lane on the Swain as well. There should be no free lunges, so much standing gold. All Gen.G can say is, man, if we get a Baron, there's going to be such a big Baron power play, because we'll have nothing. We'll only have the Baron.
It's going to be a fun one here. We'll see if Gen.G can hold on by their bootstraps and somehow make their way into the late game.
Here's Stormrazor onto the Quinn. Stormrazor and the Executioner's calling for lane.
Okay, Predator onto Ambition.
Yep.
And by the way, it's a submarine, but it's above ground. They're going to get Ambition again. And here's Kube. It's going to be a little bit late, but at least they almost kill the Olaf, but not quite able to. Just barely in the end with that bomb. Will they fly now in the pit all alone? Is going to go down. They do get an extra kill, 2 for 1 for now. Now Keen pushing forward. Has that red buff, misses the taunt. Trying to dive under the turret, and Swain is so good at this. Where can they go? They're just gonna die under the turret. Ruler goes down. The taunt comes in on a core JJ. Not gonna be able to take him out. Somehow Keen died too.
Keen took tower aggro on the dives, goes down. It's only a 3 for 2. It's not as one-sided as you might imagine. They'll desperately want this mid lane turret, but I don't know if Kramer and Tucson can kill it fast enough, and Core JJ is actually gonna stick around to stop that turret going down. First look, it looked like it was going to be Afreeca blowing open the game. Not as much as you might think.
Keen just, he's getting excited. He's not a KT fan, but he's just having a good game, a fun one, I would say, on the Quinn. Bit of an unfortunate play, and as you mentioned, yeah, the bot turret is not going to go down, so in the end, just the 1 extra kill. It's not going to accelerate as fast as we thought.
Well, Spirit wanted to accelerate the game. He says, I've got Predator. It doesn't matter if I'm a level under. What is Ambition to do? He still has his flash, by the way. He's going to have it all game, saving it for game 2, maybe.
I don't understand.
There's nowhere really to flash against the Olaf this time, so I can't really complain. Eventually, they need flashes just to kill Fly. They're desperate. You can tell Afreeca Freecs know the same thing as we do. We need to win this game soon. We need to win this game before the enemy team comp is ready for team fights. That's why they go for the dive. Kramer can start the turret dive up. Kramer goes in. Keen eventually takes aggro and falls down to the last shot.
They weren't able to get any more even after Tucson taunted them. The Swain is still slow, you know. We're not looking at a Spellbinder anytime soon for Kramer down on the bottom side. Still working on his Zonias. Might have it now after that last fight, but let's take a look at some of the damage from that last one. The Quinn actually on top, but you can see already that the Sivir is holding up her end of the fight.
Again, fights that we say Quinn can't team fight, and that is true. But a team fight is defined as a 5v5 when Gen.G are ready to go. In that case, if they're in an ARAM in the mid lane, Quinn's like, I don't have anywhere to dive into. But it ends up being multiple skirmishes when you're ahead, when you've got the mid lane turret down, when you have a vision advantage, and you can just roam first from top lane with speed. That's not a fight. That's not a team fight. That's very much the sort of area where a Quinn can skirmish to win. That's what happens commonly in the early to mid game phase, and that's why Keen is still on the road.
Still looking to put pressure in the bottom side is what you would notice. He did his job in the top, pushed that one in, got one of the first turrets, but roams down here. Predator available, Spirit uses it, but look at the wave flare actually. Zilean Sivir. It's not a Azir Sivir, but it is also very, very strong, especially with that Sivir component.
Zilean ult has such questionable valuable this early in the game. Eventually, Ruler just can go in alone, and the Zilean ult can be used there. Again, compared to Jensen, who loves to pair it with a Kindred, who has so many different things she can do with the Lamb's Respite and also the Chrono Shift. There isn't that synergy in this game, and of course they're behind, so it's very unlikely to work. It doesn't work so well against Varus either, because he pokes for a third of most people's health. And against that sort of burst range, you don't get a lot of value out of Zilean. A lot of people won't know this, but Fly was on the Zilean hype train before Jensen or anyone else in 2016 when KT Rolster were in that 2 HP famous game against Rox Tigers in the final. That was when he was known for his Zilean play all through the 2016 season. And returning to it here, again, doesn't fit as cleanly because I'm not as big of a fan of the draft around it, and Afreeca Freecs with the Quinn last pick really threw a wench into the works.
Wanted something that could split push well, but also group up with the team fast. We saw the Kled hover as well. Definitely brings some thoughts into the minds of Gen.G. What are we going to be facing as the game does go on? Be scared about the Quinn pick if you lose to it, but even a Kled later on is definitely going to be scary. And well, the game has slowed down a little bit after the clearing down in the bottom side. That is going to favor Gen.G. Just waiting it out, and they got Sivir down on the bottom line, just farming it up so far, so pretty good.
And again, why is that? Well, the easy objectives, Brendan, they're starting to go down, Valdez. There's only one turret left, and Sivir is patrolling that one. Sivir, Xerath, Azir, we know them as the forever keep a turret up situation, and that's what's happening in the bot lane. And that means when they eventually do that last 300 health to the bot lane turret, the game's going to be at 25, and that's where Afreeca will really feel like they need to get the next thing. The next thing, the inner turrets, the Baron, they're much harder than the opening objectives. Getting value out of Quinn will get more and more tricky as she walks through Warded Brush. So Gen.G, despite some really big mistakes in the early game, are close to stabilizing in this game number one.
Have a full-on 5v5. They don't want to give a second Mountain Drake over to the side of Afreeca. Ambition going to start this one up. And notice Kramer's positioning. He was always threatening that flank from the right side. Spirit and Kuro doing a good job of keeping all the vision available. Afreeca are just so good about closing out all the vision around objectives. Look at how many control wards. They're slowly pressing forward. There was one on the blasting plant above them. They move it into the bush ahead. Just trying to win that vision war so far. Not confident enough to start the Mountain Drake first. They want to poke out Ambition, and well, that's what the mid lane Varus is for.
The poke is good, and look in the mid lane also. Keen pushing in the wave, getting a bit of damage onto Cuvée. Afreeca can do multiple things at once. They have globals, they have speed. Gen.G cannot defend multiple objectives against this Afreeca comp this early. They will lose the Mountain Drake.
Really well played passes of play there from Afreeca, just controlling the vision, using the Varus composition. The Swain, even from behind, always threatening. Nest them a second Mountain Drake with the third one on the way. You're talking about how Varus, with the lethality build, is not fantastic about doing Baron, but well, you have good seeds. Maybe you can just push in, and it's going to help out your Baron push as well.
I'm just looking for Afreeca to be very glass half empty. It's not what you have, it's the next thing you should have. You need to be greedy with a draft like this. It is very much about the lanes, the skirmishing. The part before you can just patrol as 5, put down control wards on Baron and delay the game 10 minutes. They need to blow open this game and decide it before then, so they're still doing very well. We just have a data point already of SKT being unable to close with an even bigger lead at this point. The Quindras will struggle to get over the line.
Kive doing his part, gonna net a nice amount of gold down on the bottom side. Bot turret's actually pushed first by Gen.G, in part due to the Sivir push earlier on in the game. Ambition still trying to find his meaning throughout the entire game. This Taliyah has not looked so good so far.
Has she flashed or ulted?
No, neither.
Oh, the interrupt.
Oh man, Kive has to flash over the wall. That's huge down in the bottom side.
Now that's some Quinn mechanics I can get behind. Nice interrupt there onto the flag and drag. Kive thought he could lazily get over, he could not. Nice reminder, again, a lot of solo rank play by Keen on the Quinn recently. You never know what that means when it comes to players in solo queue, but clearly it means they're ready to go. Plenty of people had Akali practice games. Those ones ended up being useless for the playoffs as Akali is disabled. But the Quinn finding some value here. And the gold lead, it's consistent, but it's not growing past 4,000.
Yeah, you'll notice it even took a jump up towards Gen.G as they did not use the Weaver's wall, but still they created space for the Sivir to push in the top side. And so, in terms of objectives, turrets specifically, Gen.G only down 1 turret is not so bad for where we're at in the game, 27 minutes in. So they should be happy about that. The Sivir looking down the barrel of her 3rd item at 2.5 right now. You have to wonder, when is the tide of this game going to eventually turn to Gen.G?
I think when there's that Infinity Edge there, consider the Ricochet crits onto Quinn. Even the Olaf is not very tanky. It's Hex Drinker and a Knight's Vow. Some win more options for the mid game, like we mentioned. That is when Ricochet accidentally kills people. So we're getting to that point. 4 items, not that far away. 3 items is close. 700 gold is the amount shaved off a 3-item build that starts with Storm Razor, goes into a Zeal item, and then ends with Infinity Edge. Very, very close to that is Ruler. Gen.G seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. What is Afreeca Freecs' next move to actually increase the pace of the game?
A pick into Baron would be perfect, but we've seen that Gen.G is good at just playing extremely passive and saying, we're not going to get picked. Now, if they try to pressure at the Baron, they can get poked out by Kuro. We've already seen that. He's now level 16, with Keen even level 17, the highest in the game so far. If Afreeca could get vision control of that upper river and poke them out, maybe that would be a good start.
You know, it's a cool item that we do see from Kramer is his first look at Keen just to, okay.
Look at that, he knows what's going on. Look at the burst too. No flash out of Cuvee, should be an easy cleanup. Tries to dunk him, but it's not gonna work.
He got dunked, Valdez.
Oh boy, and look at Ambition, where's he at? Now the Olaf is just gonna loll all over his face. Finally flashes away. I say finally with just, man, he finally did it. It's good for him, but not good for Gen.G as now the Taliyah is pushed out of the fight.
And Keen is going to decide the game. He's got his Infinity Edge already. He seems to be on the hype train of getting these items while they're cheaper. Get them while they're hot, says Keen. The Twin Shadows actually on Kramer for the catch we talked about. Keen just caught himself. That was the thing he was able to do. He got his own solo catch. Yeah. Now they're on Baron.
We've been looking for the AD carry from the Afreeca Freecs. It's been in the top lane the entire time. The Swain just for zoning, and he's doing exactly that. The bomb's coming forward, but it's not going to happen. The smite is there. Tucson now looking for that taunt, and he is going to get it on Ambition, who once again can't do much. The knock up here onto 2 by Core JJ, but he's going to disappear. The teleport from Cuvee is canceled, and Afreeca Freecs takes a huge Baron.
And that's what they were looking for. That's what they were desperate for, and it all starts from Keen. Solo killing Cuvee. Cuvee has a teleport, spawns too late, he can't even get there for the Baron. They get the Baron, they get the kills, and now the comp that couldn't team fight, how are you going to stop this siege from Afreeca Freecs?
Now it's like a freight train running straight through your town as they're going to try to take out all the turrets. They do so much damage to the front line, it's ridiculous. They have a ton of gold, they want to go back and buy first, and well, the items are even going to get even more scary.
Afreeca Freecs are getting real scary. Suddenly, if you're King Zone waiting the next stage, you may always beat Afreeca. But Afreeca inspired with their draft today. The Taliyah has been a problem for the enemy. Watching the replay of how this happened in the mid lane, eventually they realized they couldn't get onto Kuro. Taliyah walked up, tried to help the kill on Kuro, and that meant he went in the death chamber. Didn't actually die, but of course was zoned away. Nothing Taliyah can do against Olaf, and no value out of Taliyah for the first pick from Ambition.
You know, we mentioned it before, only 5 different junglers that Ambition has played in the summer. This Taliyah, it's not looking too clean. I feel like you got to stay behind your front line when you're going for an engage.
And it also, Valdez, subverts how the drafting works in this patch. Oh, so in this stage, remember, we're on the wildcard match. Gen.G, as 4th seed, had the choice of side. They were the ones to choose the blue side. As you would expect, blue side has been favored for the majority of the recent memory, because through picks and bans you influence, the enemy has to ban Taliyah and Aatrox. Afreeca, for once, they actually sat back and said, do we need to ban Taliyah? Fly is a good Taliyah, but first pick, mid lane, blind pick Taliyah is not great. Ambition, does that fit his style? The answer is no. The only team bold enough to leave it up is Afreeca Freecs. They were ready for it. They've answered it. It's been a great draft from Afreeca.
That it has, and they're finally playing to their strengths. It's so exciting to see. Speak about a dark horse. They come out here, they're the 5th team. There's no Elite 5, guys. It's the Elite 4, and Afreeca is number 5. So they're trying to push through this entire lineup, and they come out to play here in game number 1 after a fantastic win in the draft. Well, can't really argue with that. And the damage is there to follow it up too. Now triple Mountain Drake to Afreeca and to Baron, and now we've moved past 10,000 gold in terms of a lead. They are running away with game number 1. Oh, God.
That was 1 Q. The second one kills Ruler.
Guess he didn't have a spell shield available. As well, Sivir also not able to carry this one just yet. We're here after 30 minutes, but it has been too one-sided for her to do much.
I think Gen.G, the one thing they should really be culpable of in the draft is not asking the same question I did of why is this Varus so early? They've actually just really been answered compositionally with the mid lane Varus. After all, the Zillion into Varus is not something you'd want to do, but it's something they've ended up with. And this result, they might just lose their turrets here. Baron about to wear off, but there is the base being broken.
They'll get it. They're taking it.
Maybe not.
Kramer is going to get bursted out of nowhere. The crit's finally coming out of the Sivir. Seismic shove, though, going to miss. Trying to jump on in there is Quinn, but then she's going to go down. Gen.G pulling off a massive defense. And Afreeca pushing too far forward. Can they get spared here is the real question. Trying to get that boomerang. It's not going to kill him.
Oh.
And there it is. Kuro going to snipe down the Jarvan just to get one back. Afreeca, they bit off a little bit more they could chew, but at least they're getting more kills on the backside.
Big mistake from Kramer. Dies in 1 rotation. Wasn't able to use his Zonias in that particular fight. They agreed to get that last hit. We called this turret dead before it actually was. Juve finds a spot to go in. Kramer never uses anything and goes down. From there, Keen is split off. He decides he's going to try to burst someone. Knows he's going to die this play. He'll also go down. This is a reminder that 5v5 was not something that Afreeca got. It's not that Afreeca have a way better draft than Gen.G. It's that their draft did different stuff and they played to their win conditions when they needed to. They return to 5v5s like that a few more times, they're still going to lose this game.
You got to be so careful, especially when you're playing Swain and you're this far ahead. You can feel invincible, right? You just walk on in, you have your Zonias, but if you get bursted down, all of a sudden you're just non-existent in the game, and Kramer definitely a big mistake. Swain has the very short range, obviously, on his auto attack, so just wanted to move that slight bit forward to take out the turret. It was definitely the wrong move, and now, well, the Sivir has more than just an infinity edge. QV looking for the engage, not going to happen.
Oh, no. QV is looking to get the hell away from Quinn. It's a 4-item Quinn on the side of Afreeca Freecs. This is much easier to show. Afterwards, here's the engage.
Yep, we're looking for this one. QV pretty tanky at this point. Look at Ruler over the left side. Going to burst down the Olaf, but in the end, Zillion ultimate going to come in. Kramer not able to take out Ruler, and now he's going to get bursted down. Ambition, but here's Keen from behind. He's going to dodge that side. Look at him go into the back line. Takes out one. Can he take out another? As Kuro gets extremely low, but he takes out one on the backside.
They can't kill Keen!
Oh man, it can't kill him. He's just going forward. He bursts down on the rocks, and maybe the Talia is going to be able to get two. A triple kill on the backside. Holy moly! As the rocks on the ground take them all out.
Afreeca Freecs get so greedy, they're going on different targets each time, and in the end, it's actually cleaned up by Gen.G of all things. Afreeca Freecs, they have to be more decisive. If they keep going 50-50 in fights like this, there'll be 6 items on the damn Sivir. We're gonna watch the replay. Cuvée can't go bot lane because he doesn't have the items to 1v1 against the Quinn. That means that Afreeca are too far up as a 4-man squad. They get greedy jumping onto Ruler, and after the Chrono Shift, Ruler actually does more damage in this fight than he should. By the time Keen gets there, he can fashion his 4-item Quinn. He might as well be a Sivir in what he can do in these fights. Ruler gets the extra damage, but still you're thinking, yes, Quinn's going to decide the game. Notice what happens at the end of the fight.
He dashes
jumping
forward
exactly
over the rocks and gets killed by himself.
In the end, Ambition's able to stabilize the fight. It should have been easier for Afreeca Freecs. They get a bit desperate for those final kills. The bloodlust is too damn strong, and this game will extend.
Yeah, we mentioned we were questioning why is Kramer coming out here instead of aiming. He plays the Swain, and he played it so well for 30 minutes, but 2 mistakes in a row. They really wanted to kill Ruler. He wasn't able to do it as Ruler was on top of his flash. He's able to survive. And now this may not be Afreeca's game, as weird as it sounds, even though they're 9,000 gold ahead. We got a Sivir online, boys.
And there's a reason why Gen.G drafts the way they do, because slow and steady, it will always have Baron impact and 5v5. Afreeca have tried to play around Gen.G's tendencies, but if Gen.G can fall back, get comfortable, they can win this game.
A lot of it is going to be that assassination from Quinn, too. We got a lot of flashes down. Cuvée gets the engage again, and the follow-up from Rakan. Can Sivir burst them down? The Rock's going to miss here from Ambition, but finally they do, and the top side is going to be routed as Keen comes in from behind, but only gets the Zillion ultimate out of Ruler. And now they're going to be able to turn here as there's no more Varus.
Gen.G never had the map control to make plays like this to force Afreeca into 5v5s, but after those last 2 losses they have, Keen's going to take an inhibitor.
Oh,
the Baron
boy.
should go to Gen.G.
This is getting real interesting, too, because we got Spirit looking at the Elder Drake. Doesn't have enough burst to do it himself. He's going to start it, though. We'll have Quinn following up.
Trying to interrupt.
Gen.G, they're going to have to back first. They have to defend the base. They don't want to lose Nexus turrets. So that might be an inhibitor and Elder trade for the Baron.
That's actually a really good call from Afreeca after they lost control over the Baron. They end up getting a 3-stack Elder and mid lane inhibitor. That's a win, if you think about it, because suddenly second Elder is a massive win condition in about 7 minutes time. Gen.G were able to make this game about what they wanted. They should never have had the choice. It should have been dictated to by Afreeca Freecs, but they can always have a go button. Cuvée can't 1v1 the Quinn, but he can always initiate. If you're initiating on either the Quinn or the Varus, they're going to have a bad time. Zillion just presses Chrono Shift on Ruler, and then he might as well be that Kindred that Cloud9 love to play. He can frontline, he can do whatever he wants. Ruler is at almost 6 items. The Bloodthirst only going to help him in frontlining against Afreeca Freecs.
He's going to need it, too. Will mitigate a lot of the poke from the Varus, too, and he's going to be a lot bigger in these team fights as the game does go later and later. And if you guys are Jarvan mains, I would recommend you check out that engage once again. He got the flag over it. It didn't even look like Kuro and Spirit knew they could be engaged from there. It was really good from Cuvée.
Let's talk about what the teams know right now. There's a new variable they could not have known pre-game that you have to imagine. It is 45% damage to turrets and minions Quinn at the moment. So, we already know that Cuvée can't 1v1 the Quinn. Now we know the Quinn can look at a turret, decide it dies, and its death will be confirmed. How did Gen.G get over another minute of the Quinn just being able to end the game in 40 seconds?
Definitely looking at, maybe 4-shotting a turret down on the bottom side. We'll see if Keen has it. Look at what Spirit's doing, is going to follow him down just in case someone wants to try and stop him.
Afreeca Freecs can't group as 4 like they have a couple of times and get engaged on by Cuvée, but they can just try to get Keen as much time as possible. All Spirit is being is a human ward to try to get Quinn onto this inhibitor.
Yeah. See the vision control also that Quinn does have really helps in the just split push here. He's able to spot the control ward coming on in. They do not push anymore.
And yet with an implied double Flame Horizon, there will be a double Flame Horizon for Keen very soon.
God.
He still can't out-teamfight a Jarvan with 3 items and a half. That's just what kits are. That's why tank tops, or in this case, you know, utility tank tops, a fighter top, have always been more reliable than a Quinn, because Quinn can do many things, but not teamfight. Gen.G want to make it about the 4, make it about the 5. Core JJ, he's the human ward, and they do get the outer mid lane turret.
They push in, they finally get something out of their Baron buff. Look at this, we are going to have a wall come down. It's not going to be very useful, as Ambition is going to miss. Well, his Talia, I feel like that has been the one weak point. Afreeca really testing the draft of and champion pool of Ambition, and so far it's worked out.
Nice wards, actually. Spotting the transition here of the Olaf and the Quinn, and smartly, Gen.G is staying away. Because of the defensive advantage of the inhibitor, you can't just go and take pot shots at the Quinn. Can't actually escape that way. We saw Tal in that SKT game be caught in that area because you take any damage. You take a CC, you can't remount, and then you are actually able to go down. So, Spirit's still here, the Quinn waiting. Buddy system is employed by Gen.G. Amusing that the buddy system has to be ruler in QV, but that's the sort of assignment you need to actually have threat onto the Quinn.
If you want a fighter, you're going to need some damage. They have that in spades. The Guardian Angel was picked up by Keen. He is 5 items currently. We'll see if he gets rid of those boots anytime soon. You're mentioning the double Flame Horizon. He's 10 CS off of it. I also want to draw your attention to the Magi's on the Talia. 10 stacks. He had a Dark Seal earlier. I wasn't thinking he would actually build it up, but Ambition, he's, you know, he's trying to make up for that early game, I suppose.
Well, I only have old man jokes and is it a recommended item jokes about Ambition, but he did have that one good team fight as Talia, so we'll give him a bit of a reprieve. The Flame Horizons are all over the place. There's a 100 CS advantage in mid lane for Kuro and 100 CS advantage for Ruler in bot lane. I don't know if we've ever had 3 different Flame Horizons in a game, but we have that here. 3 including a double.
Wow, okay. Well, that's a first, I suppose.
So 3 Flame Horizons and soon to be a double Flame Horizon is 1 out of the 3. That just shows you what this game has been about, though. It's been about the 1 for Afreeca. It's been, man, this Quinn is pretty damn strong and able to split push. But the last 100 CS has meant nothing, and QV has influenced the game more since 28 minutes than Keen has been able to. Keen can warp the game, but easy objectives versus hard objectives. Out of turrets, man, Keen roams so fast and can get in. Late game, much harder to get value. So for now, Gen.G say, this is why we play the way that we do. We never played any of these bot lane, mid lane carries, no overflow there. Ruler had only Marksman as his champion pool. They know how to play the late game oh so well. Afreeca wanted to win the game between 25 and not have the game extend through 35, as we said during pick and ban. It's now 43.
We're just about there, and you were talking about that second Elder kind of win condition here for Afreeca. Well, bad news for them is that the Baron is going to spawn first, and Gen.G could definitely try to force a 5v5. You notice that for now, QV with this TP up really wants to push that bot lane so Quinn doesn't have the pushing advantage down in the bottom side, the potential to take out another turret and perhaps an inhibitor, even if Gen.G do get that Baron.
Spirit is not as tricky as he thinks he is. He's being shadowed by Ambition on the bot side. Unable to get any value from Quinn, and Gen.G just say, okay, we'll all have 6 items for our next 5v5 fight.
Showed himself.
There will be an offset, remember, between Baron and Elder, and if Gen.G set up first, how do Afreeca contest Vision when they have no true tank on their side? Olaf doesn't want to use Ragnarok to check an objective. They have to be oh so careful, because if it ends up being the 5v5, I think Ruler's got the win button. He's on this Sivir, buffed on 814, the itemization cleaner on 816, sorry, 815, sorry, which we are currently on. And now Gen.G say, Baron spawns in 18 seconds. Power's onto you, Afreeca, what do you do?
Keen, he wants blood down in the bottom side, taking out QV and then going for it would be fantastic. But look at this, the bomb on top of Ruler. You don't want to get anywhere near him. It's not the Kindred, but Sivir is fast himself, and this is it. They're on a timer. They need to get the Baron because already the bottom lane is being pushed.
All right, let's watch this timer. Minion wave is so much slower than Quinn. It's very amusing to watch.
Look at
Quinn
this.
gets up there. It's going to be quick.
Turret's gone.
Yep.
Wall's coming in. He wants to remount and not going to flash the wall. He's really fast,
He's
by the way.
wasting a lot of time.
He's going to go around the turrets, say, you can't get me. And, well, now they might get him here. He's really fast.
He
still,
played it so well.
Man, he's going to get out of there so well. Keen 1v2ing. Afreeca, unfortunately, of course, not able to take a Baron. But again, the Elder is about to come up. They get another turret. Afreeca playing it well.
His Volt usage is so good. The interrupt earlier on the Flag and Drag and then getting out, waiting for the Cataclysm and knowing it. Beautiful stuff. It started off him using it, ends with the PogChamp. And now Afreeca are more in position than Gen.G.
Yeah.
They're pushing out multiple waves. Ruler needs to start killing people, but he just can't find anyone in range.
Nobody can stop Quinn. They need to 2-1 him. But look at the top side. Kramer's able to push it to 1-3-1, and there's no Baron pressure. Even Spirit going to be able to win this one. Quinn keeps the Taliyah down, and look at the top turret. It is going to go down too. They want to collapse on a Kramer here, but he gets the perfect never move, and Afreeca get another objective.
They can't get the inhibitor bot lane, but they get an inhibitor turret. Can they return to it?
Look at this.
This is the second Elder. Remember, Afreeca, with all those plays, bought enough time for there to be a trade, Valdez. Remember, they will offset those 1 minute between Baron and Elder. But in that 1 minute of Yakety Sax play from the Quinn, now the Elder is on the map. Gen.G aren't in position for it. And Afreeca getting a fresh shot, but what does it mean for the Elder Drake?
Elder Drake looking like it might go to the side of Gen.G, but Keen looking to try to come from behind.
Spirit
not able to knock him up here. Spirit going to be delayed for now, but here he comes with the stone play. Can he get it? No! Ambition is going to be able to pick it up. The QV gets extremely low. And the top side, here's Kramer finally coming in. This is the team fight to decide. Kane in the back line. He is going to get that damage down. And Ruler is going to go down. And down will go the bottom lane. Afreeca, they've done it. They win the team fight, lose the Elder, but it does not matter. They played this game so well. Can they push in? Fly trying to get out of there, and he will. He's the last hope here for Gen.G, but there's a huge freight train coming for their base.
They should be able to end the game. They don't have a minion wave right now, and that is going to delay. Look at the death timers here, 40 seconds on anyone relevant. Surely it has to be now, Valdez. Surely it's Afreeca Freecs taking game number 1.
Looks like it will be with Keen in position. They have done it. What an incredibly high-level game we've had here tonight. Afreeca is able to win it here in the end. Still 20 seconds on even the next person, which is Rakan. And that's going to do it, guys. Game number 1 of this best of 3 is going to go to Afreeca.
Big cheer from the crowd here at the Nexon Arena. That was such a tricky game for Afreeca to close out after QV made those big engages in the mid-game. And it looked like it was going to be just a good old honest 5v5 game that Gen.G always falls back on. But Keen on the Quinn, justifying the last, but the Ignite Quinn won them the game. With the smooth moves around that bot lane inhibitor take that also delayed the Elder to actually be spawned. Yes, Gen.G got in position for it first, but they couldn't cover all their flanks because it wasn't the Baron they were setting up for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Ruler dies, so does Gen.G. It's been the story the entire summer season. And now Gen.G, who would have already been thinking about how they were favored against Kingzone in the next best of 5, may never get there. They have to win 2 in a row against Afreeca Freecs.
Definitely going to be a big question, which side do you pick this time around? Definitely after seeing Ambition's Taliyah, I would not like to see that happen again. Afreeca, fantastic draft for game number 1, you would have to say. Let's take a look at this last fight as well.
I think Gen.G's draft was strong, but they weren't in as much command of their draft as Afreeca and other teams that played this Taliyah draft were. I thought Ambition was weak in the early game. We got to the late game, and Keen is just able to make this work. They have to kill Ruler at all costs. He's not actually taking aggro there, but a Q into a damn Comet that does so much damage. He goes down. There's no fallback when Ruler dies.
Disappeared. The perfect flank as Keen came in, disabled the Jarvan, took him out, comes behind the entire squishy back line. They had no more tank available. And wow, what a game there. Ambition, he's going to be thinking, and now a big question is, do we bring in Haru? Probably not, I would say. I think I would like to still see Ambition, but don't put him on Taliyah.
Gen.G would always do that. Sub in Stitch and Wraith, even though Ruler and Core JJ had a good game a couple of years ago. The issue I see is that all the practice they put in was not for this comp. It went away from Ambition. If he's on a tank jungler, things are more comfortable. On the red side, usually things are a bit more predictable. You're banning away Taliyah. Let's see what happens in game number 2. My first thought is, do Afreeca Freecs even choose the blue side? We have dynamic side selection. After the break, we'll know if they even choose blue.
It's a big question, but guys, we will have that break coming in right now. So we'll join you after just about 12 minutes for game number 2.
파이팅! 파이팅? 파이팅? 깜짝 놀랐네. 파이팅! 안 어울려. 파이팅! 안 어울려. 파이팅! 지금 긴장했어요? 나? 네. 아니에요. 오늘 별로 안 했어. 너 언제 했었어요? 첫 경기 빼고 별로 없었어. 첫 경기 어디였지? 킹전 드래곤 XD BTD 상대면 굉장히 못하지. DDM 어땠어요? 뭐래? 아니에요. 그래서 거기 나가는 거 아니야? 오프 들었거든? 터지면 오프 들어도 되나? 있어. 다 있어요? 부스토. 아, 많이 조심해야지. 조심해야지. 넌 어땠는데? 저는 무서웠죠. 프레이 만나서 프레이 무대카이 나올 때 어땠는데? 이거 그렇게 말해도 재미없어가지고 어차피 안 나오고. 그렇긴 해요. 재밌어야 나가지. 방송 하나만 주세요. 방송이요? 이거는 여기 상이 있네. 아니 파란색 방송도 하나만 주세요. 네? 이렇게 한 번에 말해. 일부러 그러지. 네. 그것도 상관없지. 연락. 많이 먹지 말라니까. 짜증나. 너무 많이 썼어요. 왜? 그렇게 많이 먹어. 많이 먹지 마. 니 헤드셋이 큰일 난 거야. 야마하. FLICKR. 에이. 아. 에이. For you. Listen to my I'm gonna sing from the chandelier. 야, 근데 QQR을 쓰면은 그 그냥 원래 손풀게 윤하기 딱인데. 누구? 윤민 학살 몰라? 윤민 학살. 진짜? 응. 진짜 잔인하다. 싸움도 할까? 지금까지 이윤재를 이렇게 만든 게 김혁기였구만. 저 이번에는 최종 오디오 테스트니까 이제 간단한 말씀보다는 콜사인으로 말씀해주세요. 예. 사 선수부터 말씀 부탁드릴게요. 예, 탑 땄어. 나이스. 뭐라는 거야? 탑 땄어. 거짓말 대회야? 정대 선수 말씀해주세요. 원대 선수 말씀해주세요. 원대 죽었다. 아, 죽었다. 진짜 기다. 너 진짜 그런 거 힘냐? 넌 진짜로? 어떻게 그러지 저거를? 간단한 콜사인.
좋다고 나오면 들어가라. 보여줄게. 이제 일단 보자. 네? 이제 일단 보여줘. 원래 못하는 동생 몰려먹으니까 재밌냐고. 주소가 보여줄게. 복수해 주십시오. 그렇게 나는 거 보이나 내가? 야, 나 잘하는데요? 네? 야, 이게 맞다고? 씨. 내 마우스 아이스가 안 넘기네. 안진영, 마우스 안 바꿀래? 습관적으로 제어하자. 이런 습관, 네? 습관적으로 제어하듯 사는 이런 습관. 그럼 지금 뒤를 보이시는 거예요? 야, 진정한 남자는 도망칠 줄 아니, 진정한 남자. 제어하듯 못했네. 습관적으로. 오! 아 이거 봐봐 마우스 이상하고 마우스가 나 왜 초시계 쓰려 했는데 진짜
와 내가 키플레이어다.
이안이 미드에서 시야를 확보하는 장면이 굉장히 좋았거든요.
내가 시야 압도적으로 1등이다.
근데 준영이 와도 열심히 먹고 미국 못 보는 거 아니야?
아니 내가 미드 압도적으로 시야 박는 거 1위.
근데 미드에 우리가 시야가 없냐고 어디에 박는 거야?
나 미드 타워 뒤에
시야 점수 올리려고.
Welcome back, guys. We're here after the break. After game number 1, Afreeca were dominating from the beginning. Really nice draft. They put ambition on the Taliyah. It does not work out too well for him, and Keen just eventually took this game over with the help of his team.
Really fascinating match between Afreeca Freecs and Gen.G. Such a great statement for the LCK playoffs for this to be the first game. Both comps did such different things, and it looked like Gen.G would get to show their stripes at the end because they were able to navigate the very annoying early game phase led by this man who 100% wins the MVP for this game. Keen was so good at using that vault. He either interrupted or followed whenever he needed to. His escape at the end, outrageous as well. Dark Crystal Jarvan. What can he do? Gen.G almost were able to make this a game of 5v5s. It's so much easier to 5v5 fight than engineer some of the split pushes. That Keen had to be the one. He had to be the one in the 4-1. And he was the one. He was the MVP here. Outrageous performance from him. He's waiting for the Cataclysm. That's the whole point of this is I will not vault till I see Cataclysm, see you nerd, and I'm gone. That was about as well as you could play this game. And that meant that when Gen.G said, all right, let's make it about the Elder Dragon, they weren't going to be in position for it, Valdez. Cuvee alone on the side, going to be taken down. They can come from multiple different directions.
And watch Ruler. Look at his health bar.
This is not a true 5v5. This is a Quinn getting backline access at 45 minutes into the game. How often does a Quinn actually get unimpeded into a backline at 45 minutes? Not unless his team made a lot of great decisions over the course of those 45.
And, well, they did. Definitely a well-deserved victory over to Afreeca. You guys can see the damage in the top lane, too, just behind the lethality Varus, who most of the time is going to pick that up if he has a good game. The Swain for Kramer, we were wondering why he came in. Well, he did his job, didn't do all the damage, but zoned a lot, especially in a lot of those team fights around the Baron, around the objectives, did well. Ruler had a lot of damage, too, but wasn't able to carry his team alone. And now the next draft is definitely going to be really interesting after that crazy game 1 we had.
Didn't even think about the fact that Quinn gets her items faster if Sivir gets her items faster. She went full crit build and just crit the face off of Cuvee. So congratulations to Kane, your Korean national top laner. He's going to be going off in just a couple of weeks, Valdez. Whether Afreeca make the final or not, he will be over in Jakarta for the Asia Games representing Korea. Maybe you want to consider banning Quinn if you're over at Jakarta.
Yeah, so really good player, but guys, we're going to jump into another video. We're going to be right back.
이제 아무래도 저희 팀이 최근에 경기력이 좀 많이 안 좋았다 보니까 상대 팀보다는 저희 팀 이제 경기력을 더 높이려고 좀 다 같이 팀 합을 맞추고 있어요.
성장기인 것 같습니다. 처음부터 다시 한다는 마인드로 이제 차곡차곡 기본기도 탄탄하게 하고 이제 좀 더 변수를 만드는 플레이도 많이 하도록 그런 방향 쪽으로 좀 설정하고 갈 것 같아요.
이기면 더 높이 올라갈 수 있다는 생각이 좀 즐겁게 할 것 같아요.
There you have it, guys. Some nice words from the side of Afreeca, but we're just about ready to jump into pick and ban for game number 2. And Keen, he's got a big smile on his face after winning MVP in game number 1. Very well deserved. The question is, what is he going to play here as Afreeca will jump onto the blue side for game number 2?
I need to know the answer to that question, Valdez. I'm so hyped for more games between Afreeca Freecs and Gen.G. It's only a best of 3, guys, and maybe we'll be robbed of an epic best of 5, but it's always been this way since the wildcard match was introduced in Korea. On the blue side are Afreeca Freecs this time, so we have dynamic side selection because Gen.G finished the regular season in 4th. They're able to pick their side on game 1 and game 3. Blue side is what we expect all the way through playoffs because blue side pretty broken at the moment. Afreeca notably did not ban Taliyah second ban on the red side. It was Tom Kench in the place of the Taliyah. Gen.G say that wasn't how our scrims were and ban away Aatrox and Taliyah. They want game 2 to be as normal as possible because they have the red side. They will see Keen's champion before they have to draft anything in.
I love that sign. Just talking about how fun League of Legends is. Very well designed. And well, we got the camera on Keen. He's the big guy on campus, and they're gonna ban the Quinn because, well, it's Keen. You're not gonna let him do that a second time to you and potentially lose the best of 3 because of it.
Very early Alistair pick here from Afreeca Freecs. They will first pick it in game number 2. It has been a fallback champion for Tucson, 9-5 on the pick. Notice it's taken over Shen. Can remember that Afreeca, the reason why I was going to get there, Valdez, is Alistair pairs really well with the awesome dudes, whichever one you want in the bot lane. If it's not going to be a marksman, you want Alistair. It's going to be Swain, Alistair bot lane, most likely, and a Yasuo mid lane for Kuro. This has been banned against him many times this season.
Finally get a chance to play that once again. As if game 1 wasn't hype enough, we get Kuro on his Yasuo, and well, it's going to be a fun one. We'll see if we have any other cool picks out of Afreeca. As Gen.G, they're doing what Gen.G does. It's Varus, Trundle, Braum, just about as much as you can expect from this team. Well, going to go ahead and ban the Jace too. They're really scared about Keen after game number 1.
We may have even seen Keen's champion already. Remember that Afreeca Freecs chose blue side. After game 1, I actually thought they might choose red side and stay on red, even though most teams would prize blue side as the must-go-to, because then you would have counterpick on Cuvée again and go for something crazy like Quinn. Quinn, of course, was banned in this series, but you can also just have 4 flex laners, some of them can jump in the jungle, and say, work it out, what do you want to do from here? So Afreeca Freecs, wait and see. Seems unlikely that he has chosen his champion. Gnar is available. One of Afreeca's problems recently is that I think Keen's Gnar is actually not on the level of his other picks that were so prevalent this season. His Gangplank of the recent meta picks has probably been the most impressive. His Jace is fine. And be banned away the Ryze. And Ryze is a top lane pick for both Keen and Cuvée. They have played the most top lane Ryze of anyone in Korea. So Gen.G will most likely save Cuvé's pick for last. This has been a playoffs tradition for Gen.G. Think of how many times Cuvée has been a tank player and then tried to counterpick whenever Smeb was on the Rift. Keen draws the same respect, and yet we will still see a blind pick from the Cuvée this time after all.
Yep, picks up his Gnar, which is 6-0 by the way. So they want to get that counter pick for the mid lane potentially with the Varus. I saw the coach go over to Fly and pat him on the back, so I figured that maybe he already has his champion selected. Definitely a big question in this draft.
They're so scared of Keen, they don't ban Gragas, even though Gragas is the slam dunk initiator for the Yasuo. That's the usual ban you would see after a first round Yasuo Alistair. Yeah. So they get Gragas here as well. Let's get some more information from Afreeca. We think it's going to be Yasuo mid lane. The bot lane Yasuo player usually was aiming, and bot lane Yasuo is not really a thing recently. The Swain Alistair is a much stronger awesome dude duo. And the GP is available, can be taken into the Gnar very happily. Keen has won this matchup before and can go Resolve Tree to not get pushed out by the Gnar, so he's going to go into the GP. So the roles are pretty set. What did Gen.G last pick here? The Zoe is available. That will make such a standard Siege comp on their side. They were flexing the Varus to the last pick. It will be a standard Siege comp and also the Gnar trying to push in the GP. But in Korea, GP traditionally has been winning this matchup recently. It hasn't been as Gnar favored. We're going to have to see a vintage Gnar performance from Cuvée like he did on that famous day against Griffin. The 2-0 there that lost everyone their minds over at the OGN Stadium.
Well, guys, we got a Zoe in the game as well. It is going to be up against Kuro's Yasuo. We'll be able to pick up that cleanse. We've seen Zoe's run away with games. We were talking about Siege compositions, and you look at Gen.G's composition in general, and it's just got Gen.G written all over it. It's got super standard all the way through.
What patch is it, Valdez? 8.13, 8.14, 8.15, 8 exactly. There's only one patch that Gen.G plays on. No one needs to know what the patch is. It's 8.15 version. It says it at the top left. But Gen.G are doing the Gen.G thing. Afreeca Freecs are doing the Afreeca Freecs thing. They were one of the teams to flex their solo lanes for a long time. I think they got a bonus Gragas they shouldn't have gotten in this draft. Spirit has been up and down on the Gragas. Less ability power, more playmaking from Spirit, please.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And if they lose, no Evelynn in Game 3 as well. Do not want to see that. But, yeah, Keen had a gigantic smile on his face when he saw the Gnar and just picked up the GP. You could tell, you know, that Camille ban, the second one, right? The Chase, okay, we get it, but the Camille, kind of a question mark from the side of Gen.G. Were they so scared of the Camille that they gave away GP and Gragas away?
The answer is yes. They did not want to have Camille into Gnar and then Spirit camping top side, so they banned away the Camille. To get the Gnar some advantage, can he actually take those advantages and punish Keen for the GP?
Cuvée looking for his 7th in a row win on the Gnar. We'll see if he can carry his team to victory, jumping into game number 2.
세간사의 학교에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
We're all sold out here at the Nexon Arena. Not a single seat is available. If you guys are joining us, thank you very much. You're in the right place here for the wild card match of LCK. You said it after game number 1. That is a fantastic way to start off the LCK playoffs. Trying to regain the best of the region, best of the world region title away from the LPL. I feel like that first game did a decent job of showing off what we've got.
But that's a story for another day. World's going to be where that story is resolved. I just need to know who the best team is in Korea, because remember, we had 4 teams at 13-5, same match score, only split by game score and head-to-head. Gen.G was the team in that 13-5 out of these 2. We will now see them try to battle back from 1 game down. Just feels like Christmas has come early. We got patch 8.15. We don't have the Akali clogging up the bans. Guys, Akali globally banned through playoffs in Korea. I'll explain the logic behind that again. So it is available in NA and EU LCS, but they're still on regular season, so the disruption of a rework isn't as big a factor. But here in Korea, because it's playoffs, we only had a few days turnaround with the regular season ending on Thursday. No Akali for our playoffs. Less disruption because it is that hallowed playoffs.
We got to pause here. Not sure what the issue is. We'll try to get that sorted in just a moment as well. Kind of an awkward way to start off game number 2, but it is what it is.
Hopefully it's a small issue. We're hearing it's on the Afreeca Freecs side, which the camera here is also confirming. I need to know what plain vanilla investment is. I hope it's a Baskin-Robbins thing. It's like, yeah, we need new flavors of vanilla. Let's invest in that.
But only plain vanilla.
Yeah.
No
French vanilla.
Yeah. No chocolate syrup on your vanilla, just plain, straight vanilla.
But it also sounds so suspiciously vanilla that you wonder if it's a front for more nefarious things.
Totally not evil and normal company.
Yeah, Google.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like it's a Kuro kind of settings and peripherals
Maybe
issue.
A mouse issue.
So we should get in there very soon. I just want this League of Legends issue to come back on. I need to know if this issue between Afreeca Freecs and Gen.G, only one can advance. I need to know which way that issue is going to go. Afreeca Freecs, it's a sound issue to confirm the particular issue on this side, a minute 51 in. Nothing to break between the 2 teams.
So it looks like the issue is resolved as the referees have left the booth. And we should get back into the game in just a moment. I'm sure everybody's really excited to see what Kuro can do on the Yasuo. We have so many Zoe haters out there that even if you're not an Afreeca Freecs or Yasuo or Kuro fan, you're rooting for him tonight.
I feel like Yasuo and Zoe are very opposite cases because Zoe, you get frustrated watching her in pro and playing against her in solo queue. I hate playing against Yasuo. As you know, it's one of my frequent bans, Valdez. But I love watching competitive Yasuo because there are such trade-offs for a champion that overextends and can be relentlessly ganked. He does his thing well, but he's such a flashy champion, has such obvious upside and downside that I think in competitive play, he's a real treat to watch.
Especially from guys like Kuro. We've had a bunch of people trying to pop off on the Yasuo. FLICKR had a couple of good games on the Yasuo so far, but then didn't show much of it later on as he got subbed out a little bit. Kuro trying to hold up his end. And you were talking about other pieces of the puzzle because it's not just the Yasuo you need to consider. It's the composition around him. They get the Gragas, they have the Alistar. A lots of different ways to get that Yasuo into the fight.
What do Afreeca not have? Because you're right, they got Wombo engaged. If Yasuo's not pressing the last breath button, it's going to be very surprising given how many people can set him up for the last breath. As Ambition's going for a super early Ocean Drake, this would be a really nice pickup.
They checked it.
It's probably because Braum left the lane. They wondered, but that was smart. They would have known that Ambition took bot lane Scuttle, so I think that was checking for Scuttle and also the Drake. Able to pick that one up. Nicely done by Afreeca Freecs, working that one out. If you got Ocean on Zoe Varus this early, it'd be like you had some runes the enemy forgot to take. So that's a really big pickup if they had got it. Gonna make the laning phase a bit more comfortable, especially for Kramer and Tucson.
Really nice pick with the Swain able to check that from the bottom side. It's also fun to check out the items. The Swain going for the Corrupting Pot does have Inspiration second. Maybe Time Warp Tonic down there just to deal with the poke from the Varus. Also the Zoe starting with that. See that a lot in the mid lane out of the mages nowadays. Just to win sustain. And well, is it going to just be nicely done or even going to get the cleanse here out of Kuro? Well, Fly going to win this lane early.
Reminded me of Rift Rivals, Valdez. If you recall, Kuro was against Scout from EDG and got solo killed around level 4 by a Zoe. In this case, tried to play with fire, had the cleanse to bail him out, but Fly almost made him look the fool. It was an Ignite Zoe as well.
It's really rough. I mean, now you don't have cleanse up against the Zoe in the first place. Gonna have a nice engage down here in the bottom side, double knock up. Kramer just able to do a bit of damage, but actually Tucson takes the most damage in the end. Still poking forward. Really want to get him out of here in the flash forward. Ruler rather saw blood in the water. Now they're going to pull him forward. Here's Spirit, forced to use that heal. Nice slowdown from Core JJ. Tucson
he really wants it.
There it is. The body slam comes in, and Ruler's going to go down. He will be paying for his crimes, and maybe Core JJ will as well, but the Zoe comes in, zones out 3, and it's only Ruler to go down.
Ruler's been a big game player before. He had a flash heal. He thought he could go for the kill and try to get the 2v2 advantage. But that's not the flash that won them worlds by catching Faker's Karma. That's a flash that actually puts them in the death chamber in a game number 2. Backs against the wall.
Maybe you can afford to make a mistake like this in a best of 5, but we're here in a best of 3 and they're already down a game. It was close. Had he hit the piercing arrow, probably would have killed him. But
he has the 3 stacks here. He knows, I trust Ruler on damage calculation. He thought Q auto would kill. He doesn't get the Q auto. Spirit's on the right side of the jungle. Big punish here. Tucson actually walks in and tries to open up the minions so they actually could be a body slam onto Ruler.
It's easy as pie.
If that redemption had turned around the fight, I think people would have had some choice words to say about Zoe.
We would have had riots in the street if that actually turned that one around.
He's got a proto belt now. That's much more honest. Thanks, Riot Games.
A lot of things they've done right. Still trying to decide if Zoe was one of them, as she is ruling the Rift. She's not picked every time or banned every time. Only fits into certain compositions, but when she gets started, it doesn't really stop here.
So we didn't finish the thought on what Afreeca don't have. If they lose Baron here, they are so boned, Valdez. They have almost no wave clear. And if they do, it's Swain and some barrels. And Zoe Varus and Siege is what Gen.G have done. If Cuvée can get a big lead over GP, if GP gets greedy in the build, which I don't think Keen will, he's already gone Resolve Tree, but if you're greedy here and Cuvé's winning lane and they set up a Siege, Afreeca have to all in, and if you're behind, that doesn't work. So that's kind of the struggle here. Varus, Zoe, Trundle, and with a Braum involved is so damn safe as a 4-man core that it's going to be a lot about Afreeca Freecs subverting their weaknesses and accentuating their advantages and getting early gold and getting online for the team fights. It's exactly what they want.
Kill did go over to Kramer in the bottom side. He is going to be down on farm compared to the Varus, so it's nice to have that kill. The first blood even to catch up in that one.
Freezing the minion wave. If you're wondering why the Zoe was tanking the aggro of the minions, a cannon wave, which is what you usually want to back on. So Fly says, well, I don't want to back now, and you tried to back on a cannon wave, so I'm going to decide if I want to push or if I want to fully freeze. It'll move there. Of course, there is also going to be junglers interacting with this. Spirit says, hey, what are you thinking about?
came in, got 1 minion of XP, hits level 6. We'll see if he sticks around, because one cask, and we could have a full-on engage from the Yasuo onto Zoe.
Love the little mind games of big best of 5s. In the regular season, you don't always want to draw too much, especially in Korea where they were playing 3 best of 3s a week. There couldn't be too much prep for a single opponent. We got to prep for a single match. The players were prepping for a must-win match, and that's always going to be a different thing. Afreeca Freecs, through their history, they have a number that actually they won't want to remember, and that's 0-8. And a lot of people will say, what are we talking about? We're talking about Pyrian here? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Afreeca Freecs in the wildcard match.
Yeah.
They had been in 4 wildcard match every time between 2016 spring and 2017 summer. They had never won a single game. They just won their first ever wildcard game in game number 1.
I love how you just have to throw in some shade to Pyrian. Like, halfway through, you're very pertinent and good point that you must make in this kind of series.
But don't you see the trend? You know how a good teacher gets people to listen? He throws in some jokes. Speaking of jokes.
Throwing in a cow into the bottom lane, and there's a Batman too. Look at that damage coming on in. Tucson just tanking it up with his ultimate. How about Kuro to just show his face as well? Didn't even need him. A double kill now in the bottom lane as both flashes were down. They timed it perfectly for the dive. Level 6 on the Alistair, and Afreeca are winning this bottom lane so hard.
Is there anything more scary than a Predator Gragas? We didn't even notice it was Predator Gragas. He might as well be Olaf rolling through at high speed. That man was already limber. This guy gets through some walls. Gragas has been working out, and that was a scary gank that Gen.G were not ready for.
It's going to be gigantic for them now. They're Swain. Not normally the carry, but he's 2-0-1 and gets all the gold in the bottom side. So he's going to be hitting those items a little bit faster. We'll see if he can get that Route of Aegis online, but just it's as easy as 1, 2, 3 for them. They line it up. Tucson, I spoke too soon.
That was a Papa Smithy move right there by Tucson, but it worked just like it did for us. We won that game, Valdez.
It scared them, you know. They lined up against the right side wall, and they just had to go down as there was no escape afterwards. Didn't matter if the engage was not quite there in the mechanics as well. They did the job. The Gragas was good.
What's wrong with some zoning when the results are explosive?
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta have a giggle sometimes. But like I said, if you want people to listen to your points, throw in a little joke. They have to listen to those and remember those. They'll also remember that Afreeca Freecs are trying to salvage that 0-8 wildcard score with a wildcard victory. It was a 2-0 every time. They even lost to MVP 2-0 in the spring season of 2016. This is a lot better from them. And now the early game, very Afreeca favored.
It's huge. I mean, we haven't been looking at the top side, but Keen, the MVP from game number 1, he did take the Grasp of the Undying. He's just chilling up here, ahead in farm over the Gnar. And Cube might be eating his first loss on the Gnar. It's still early on in the game, but already 1,500 gold to the side of Afreeca in terms of a lead.
If you're an armchair analyst, you knew this was the best draft, the enemy's draft was trash. When the Baron goes down, it's
They
okay.
had the ward on him. Ambition has to flash over the wall. They don't get the kill. He is going to survive.
All right, well, he survives, but he certainly isn't going to be chilling in the brush anytime soon. That was a nice confidence play from the side of Afreeca Freecs. You do that when you're winning, and suddenly you start winning more. But again, a reminder, we'll know exactly where this game is at when the first Baron goes down. If it goes the way of Gen.G, it salvages whatever the early game is from how oppressive their siege is. If it's on the side of Afreeca, it doesn't matter they have no wave clear, they'll be able to run over the game. It's a nice early game for Afreeca, but just like the previous game, don't take too much liberties judging who wins this game until we see how the mid game plays out.
Gotta wait for it. They still have a Zoe with the most farm in the game currently. Trying to carry here is Fly. We'll see if he can do it, but the amount of hard engage they have with the Predator Gragas and the Alistair with the follow-up of Yasuo. If they land any of that onto a predictable, in terms of positioning Zoe, maybe they can make this work. Gen.G, not sure about challenging this one. Trying to do damage here to Kramer, but the knock-up onto Ambition. He doesn't have his flash, and now Corey Day gonna be baited in, is able to get out on the backside, actually. And now Fly looking to turn this around. Can he burst anyone down here? Looks like no, but the Water Drake will go over to Afreeca, and they get out alive.
And a refreshing Ocean Drake. They tried to use a Yasuo wind wall to guarantee that either Ruler or the rest of Gen.G did no damage. Consider that the wind wall against Zoe and Varus is very powerful when you already have positioning on an objective. They're coming to you. One of the two's not doing damage, and that's why they feel like they can take this. Also a nice flank from Tucson, who was on a control ward to begin the play. Ruler joins late, does very little in this fight, throws out his ultimate, can put some damage onto Kramer, but he will disengage. Afreeca Freecs, and the picture-in-picture, looking for even more, but Core JJ will escape.
Everybody freaks out, including the production. Uh-oh, we've got some fighting in the bottom side, but yep, nobody goes down. Spirit uses his flash. They are going to live down in the bottom side. Well, I like the confidence. You were talking about confidence. Kuro looks really, really good on this Yasuo. I feel like it was the perfect pick, and once again, Gen.G just kind of gave it over to them. They banned the Quinn, and Kuro says, thank you very much.
We've been eating so many bans on that Yasuo, has Kuro. He's been eating bans on it for about the last 2 weeks. Clearly, Yasuo is back. We know that Yukal never gets the Yasuo anymore after his 2 victories this season, so expect more Yasuo bans and some fleeting Yasuo picks. Kuro was the first Yasuo in spring season playoffs when he played that in their victory over Katie Rolster in the semifinals, so it is one that he's been playing for quite a while. Keen is winning the lane again in Korea. GP has been beating Nar, I would say 7 out of 10 times, maybe 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And Keen is also a very fearsome Gangplank player. He's even up in CS.
As is the way of Keen and Gangplank in the Nar. You were talking about the wind wall. We even saw it there as the Zoe is just totally shut down. Remember that Gen.G picked this into the Yasuo. Wasn't a blind pick. Obviously, the Zoe is going to have a lot more pressure outside of just laning against the Yasuo. Nice happy feet here onto Keen, but is actually going to eat a bunch of damage on the backside. But what's more important is pushing the lane and continuing to farm. He already has his Trinity Force.
And the problem I have with that Gen.G choice is they're actually going to be spotted coming into this brush. Swept out, important sweep there from Core JJ, is that consider they could have picked Zoe and then last picked something into Keen's blind pick. That was something that was open. In the end, they don't actually pick something that smashes Kuro in lane. You get a CS advantage because you're a range versus melee and you get some nice trades early, but you're definitely not going to smash the Yasuo, and you have very low kill pressure onto Yasuo outside of the first few levels. So they don't actually leverage their last pick at all compared to the top lane Ignite Quinn that really rounded out Afreeca's draft. And that's why with Gen.G, I've always had trouble rating them as a top team. They will always do the same thing to their detriment, but to their advantage. In the regular season, doing the same thing every time will win you more best of 3s. But in the playoffs, things like this can happen.
Well, he doesn't have his flash. It's just about to come up. He is going to use his ultimate. Do they have enough damage? Here's Tucson just to make sure. But in the end, won't need him as Kuro cleans up the kill. Here's Cuvée looking for the engage. That Gragas is going to stopwatch. Perfect timing to make sure he gets out. Chain of Corruption goes wide. And in the end, Afreeca will just net another kill.
We've seen enough bad stopwatches to appreciate how good that one was from Spirit. Gets the sweep out. No cooldowns left. Everyone has to back away. They'll escape from this one. They want a Rift Herald, but maybe that's hand in the cookie jar too far.
Really got to be careful. Zoe can just demolish your team with poke if you're not careful around that objective. At the end of the day, they are just, well, Spirit's actually still up there. Tucson did help out with clearing the vision. Looks like it's getting pretty low based on the amount of time that Spirit has been up in the top river. Just looking to zone here. Fly gonna hop forward. I was talking about predictability. The exhaust is gonna keep him alive, but here's Kramer, and Core JJ needs to stand beside someone, but not gonna work out as Kramer coming in now onto Fly. Nearly takes him out the auto attack. Almost gets him on the backside. They really want to get this kill. Kuro is looking to dive the turret potentially.
Doesn't have flash. Can't just use the flash E. Why do Gen.G keep walking up into these picks again and again? They keep trying to take control. Put down your control wards. Get on your side of the map and be safe. You don't have the ability to skirmish early. This is why awesome dudes were a thing. They can fight before Rulers ready to go.
Yep, Riller sitting 0-2 alongside Core JJ from the bottom side. The early game was a disaster for them. They needed some kind of out later on in the game, not going to have as much farm, and well, all of a sudden, even game 2 is going heavily the way of Afreeca. This is not what we expected.
And this is, of course, not banning Gragas, biting them in the bum. We talked about it being a ban, but Tucson just says, why don't I just walk up? The Gragas is there as well for this play. He wasn't even needed to start the engage. They are so reliable on these plays, and they're also in position first. Good roam from Kramer. The next time, it'll be a cast. This time, it's the headbutt pulverize. If only one time out of 2 this can happen, it's fine for Gen.G. But how much this game will be decided before Gen.G get their first kill on the board?
It's a big question. We have another big objective coming in, as the Infernal Drake would be a fantastic kind of +1 here to Afreeca, but already Zoe looking to get on into it. I wanted to mention that Kramer, his never moves in this game have been fantastic.
Yeah.
They locked down 2 people at the Ocean Drake, which is kind of a minor point, but also to get Zoe as almost a +1 in that fight after getting Core JJ was huge. Part of the reason why he's playing is just to play Swain in the bottom lane.
And I'm loving patch 8.15 because you need to be good at the awesome dudes to play them. You don't play Swain unless you're a great Swain player and your team knows how to win with Swain. And it's much better when picks like this are situational, when you really know you can play them rather than required by the meta.
Yeah. Spirit waiting on the backside, the twin shadows from Kramer. Look at how much zoning he does all the time. Juve is exhausted, not able to get the Mega Dart. There's the engage, the Yasuo 3-man knockup. Unbelievable, the Infernal Drake 2. And look at Kane in the back line. He's gonna take out 1. He's gonna get Ambition as well. A total rout after the fight here. Kuro is gonna go down in the end. Actually, Fly trying to team fight Zoe, but he cannot in the end. And Cube, the only one to survive here, as Core JJ in the backline will also get engaged upon. Should be just a 4-for-1 in the end if they can kill this Braum. Looks like they should be able to. Just a bit of damage. Tucson picks it up. Infernal Drake and 4 kills. Afreeca are sending a message tonight.
Please, sir, can I have some more, says Afreeca Freecs. They want more kills. Everyone's flashing for them at the end. Watch the replay here. Watch how they actually get the engage.
Tucson's back, baby.
Gen.G thinks they're ready to go, and Tucson looks like he has no animation on his head, but pulverize. Instant response from Kuro and the rest of the team. And then everyone's flashing and saying, my KDA needs to be higher.
Bunch of KDA players on the side of Gen.G. No, but really just a fantastic engage there from Tucson. Definitely have to call him out. He's had a pretty lackluster summer so far, and well, the playoffs come in, and all of a sudden, the dark horse is Afreeca and Tucson.
First pick Alistar's looking pretty good now. They made it work. When I saw the first pick Alistar, it makes sense for Afreeca, just like their game 1 draft makes sense for Afreeca. Don't trust us at home, or don't try it at home for a lot of teams as your recommendation. They're very good at playing these Alistar lanes. The Yasuo from Kuro has been clean, and Alistar and Swain is actually a good Alistar lane. Alistar usually is just taking a bit of incremental harass from a Varus during laning phase and having to be defensive. If you have a match-winning support who is always thinking about how you can get your next 4-man pulverize, you can make this draft work, and Afreeca are making it look easy.
Well, they're looking like the favorite team tonight after what has transcribed here. It's been pretty nice as well. We didn't mention it before, but actually Spirit did go for an AP build, has Proto Belts and Runic Echoes. Good old Spirit is back.
I got a wide... Did you see that play? He just turned around a body slam into a backwards Proto Belt.
How is he so nimble?
I didn't even know you could do that. That's the first time I've ever seen that interaction.
Me too.
Predator
Good old
AP
Gragas. Yep.
That is what Spirit has decided. That was a wild interaction that we just saw on the Rift. I saw that interaction on Reddit where you can actually body slam and stasis at the start of the body slam and it still CCs. I wonder if we'll see that this game. That'd be hype. But yeah, Spirit wants to win more. You go for the AP build to win these mid-game team fights harder. They're winning them pretty hard. Spirit on the side here.
You'd think fighting around this Baron pit should be good for the Zoe, but so far it's been the Zoe getting baited into trying to stop them, and then just the funneling in, coming in from the side of Afreeca, who are doing so well to just corral them into one position and get that Alistar to be as efficient as possible. And this was not what I was expecting. I was even thinking maybe Gen.G could 2-0, but Afreeca have said absolutely not tonight. The game isn't over. Gen.G looking to get a supporting teleport from behind. Kuro might just be dead here, as looks like there's no hope. He does have the GA. We'll see if they decide to jump on in here. The cast comes in, but the knockup is good onto Kuro. And that means that they take that mid laner away. Where does Gen.G go from here?
Is it time to turn onto a Baron is the question for Gen.G. You feel that this game has already slipped out of your hands. Do you go for the YOLO Baron? I think it's too risky. It's also not the Gen.G way, but how many more times this game will they be the ones deciding what the next play is? So far, it's been 0 times. This is the first time they could actually make a move.
Yeah, I mean, you'll notice the GA second for the Yasuo. It's not really going to help out in that fight, but for future fights, for sure, just to get as much efficiency out of GP and Swain, who can survive for a long time while you're just rezzing. But at least Gen.G, they're able to get the GA away. Yasuo not going to have a more damage centered item, I suppose.
Does mean that at 23 minutes, even though they have this big gold lead, some of it is wasted on the GA stats. The armor is going to be useful, don't get me wrong, but obviously if it was close to an Infinity Edge, that could be big. That Infinity Edge is going to be cheaper. Remember, there is 200 gold shaved off of first 100 gold on the Zeal item, I believe, and 100 on the Phantom Dancer, which is getting pretty damn cheap. It's the cheapest of the Zeal items already. So Infinity Edge, imagine on the way. They were behind, you'd probably go Sterix and have the no damage Yasuo situation. And we'll see if it's Sterix anyway for a bit more staying power. Another game where Afreeca have beaten the clock on early game objectives. They have a much bigger gold lead this time. But until they have the Baron, we will stick with our pre-match analysis you and I made of let's decide the game when the Baron goes down. No Baron yet for Afreeca, so still a hope, still a dream for Gen.G.
Still have a chance here. Ruler has done crazy things in the past. Okay.
There was no one there.
Yep, Yasuo not here, not in position. Maybe just some communication issues. As Tucson was there, maybe he was the one calling for the engage, but no can do. Spirit is AP, but he doesn't burst you down with just a cask.
Yeah, I don't get that one. They'll back away. Let's see if there's any punish here. 2 big engage cooldowns are down. Not for the longest time. We do see that Tucson also has to wait for his ultimate.
Kind of an unfortunate one there for the side of Afreeca. But another Infernal Drake. I feel like they can just kind of pick that one up as they have total map control. Keen is going to net this one for his team. We'll see if Gen.G respond at all.
Gen.G misusing ult when they're behind. The game might end because of it. When you're ahead, you can make some small mistakes. Like we saw from Afreeca. Cuvée hoping for a Q steal. Not going to get one.
Double Infernal and a third one on the way for Afreeca, who, well, they've got a Yasuo and a GP, and even the Swain won't be hurting for that extra AP.
It's a catch-as-catch-can Swain build here. He's got a lot of movement speed. He's got the Twin Shadows for the pick. Make a more reliable Vision of Empire, or maybe use passive more reliably. We've seen a little bit more Twin Shadows on a different few champions, so I think people are really starting to like this item. It's about 85% gold efficient, and right now a lot of AP and AD items are overflowing with efficiency, so I'm still kind of learning about it. It feels like a new thing that's working in scrims, but for a team that wants to fight soon, more catch can't be a bad thing.
It just makes sure that the Swain is going to be at least catching 2 people in the front line. It makes your never move a lot easier to hit. You already have Phased Rush and Spellbinder, so you're going to be fast enough to be in the fight, but you're mentioning the catch. Makes it easier for the Alistair, the you know, the Gragas, everybody to catch up. It's more of like a support Swain, even though he did get a lot of extra gold. Maybe Afreeca figured something out that a lot of other teams haven't in terms of this bottom lane Swain amongst other carries and other roles.
Definitely agree, Valdez. I wonder if they will also, if they make it to that King Zone series, be back to awesome dudes every game. You guys are wondering, joining us late for playoffs, why we call the bot lane Swain, the bot lane Vladimir, the bot lane Yasuo awesome dudes. Over at OGN, the AR overlay they had only said AD, even though we had almost no games of marksman versus marksman, so awesome dudes is what we call them. Afreeca Freecs, one of the best at using them, was Afreeca and Griffin at the start of the season. They're back to them after basically everyone has said that only marksmen can live. Afreeca prospering in spite of that.
Especially the Swain. wins 2 games in a row. He was already 2-0 on the Swain before we started tonight. He's 3-0, looking close to getting a 4th win. Got to finish this game first, though. We'll see if Gen.G can come back. Remember, in game number 1, even with the scary Quinn, they were able to get some good engages that allowed them to try to come back.
I'm actually not a huge fan of Ruler's build. He's gone for a standard on-hit, but Rage Blade and also the Play the Ruin King. How are you ever going to have enough time to hit a closest target when Yasuo, GP, and AP Gragas are flying at you? This build is so good at killing a Cho'Gath in the front line because you just have Ginsu Rage the entire time. He's going to also be losing auto attacks into the win wall. The one area it's very powerful on is Baron damage. Huge Baron damage build coming through from Ruler. But it does feel like the efficiency of Ruler is going to be maybe a Seal Item and Guardian Angel away. And there's still a team fight where he gets zoned or instant burst by Afreeca Freecs.
I suppose the idea is let someone else get engaged upon, and hopefully the Zoe and the Varus can do enough damage. Speaking of which, Cuvée is in a lot of trouble here. Is not going to hop the slow, actually. Wants to hop the never move, but Kramer hits it anyway. They get the flash out of him. The cast comes in. It's going to be good, and Cuvée will go down. A nice little pick on the bottom side. And now Afreeca are looking to rotate to the bottom lane.
This freight train's still on the way. Here comes Kuro and Tucson.
Oh, they want to fight here, actually. Really nice pillar, and Tucson is going to miss the engage. So Pillar's good. Windwall's going to stop him. They have a push in the bottom lane. Not able to pick off any more kills, but Afreeca will get another objective.
This come from Afreeca reminds me of the old OMG 2014 Freight Train, 2013, 2014. That was Hecarim into just a lot of burst. If you see Alistar, Gragas, and Yasuo, you know they have only one thought on their mind. How many people can we trap in the last breath? And when you're this far ahead with 2 Infernals, you're all over Gen.G. You are so desperate to keep fighting. Cuvé's the one who felt the brunt of that one. They lose an inner turret. The Baron goes down. We'll know that's the last calculation. Is the moment Cuvée got clipped by that Vision of Empire, he was done.
Yep. He's gonna land that one. Cask is good from Spirit. He's had so much practice on the Gragas now, even in competitive. That's 1, 2, 3. Just kind of disappointed they weren't able to pick off more in the following engage with the Cannon Barrage, but the Pillar was fantastic against GP, and unfortunately, Alistar could not engage.
We got some fun items here. We have Predator, Righteous Glory, fastest Gragas known to man. This should be illegal. He's going to break land speed records. He's basically Rammus.
He's going to break more than that.
Infinity Edge is also there now. So, yep, we really going to see some fireworks soon, Valdez.
We are. I kind of feel like this Varus and Zoe composition, we were talking about expectations for Gen.G into this matchup. They played super standard here in game number 2. It's working out to take out Kramer's health bar, but how about a cast to stop that one? And how about a dead Trundle? It's going to flash away, and Keen actually eats too much damage. The never move is there, though.
They get
the Trundle. Not able to get it just yet. Fly is not going to get any damage on the front line either. Kramer, another never move is going to land, and they get a free kill off of it. And look at Kuro down in the bottom side, just looking for a knock-up, and he would go in. Fly going to hop forward, hits that trouble bubble. Going to commit to the clutch, he gets the knock-up, and there's the last break, and see you later, Zoe. See ya in the graveyard as they take out that Zoe, and maybe now they can look at another objective. Some pings on the Baron, they're definitely thinking about it.
You can tell Afreeca are feeling it. Every never move might as well be targeted from this Swain. It's been outrageous here. You get your own knock-up on the Yasuo. You kill Zoe. Catharsis for so many people around the world. This is definitely going to be Baron Afreeca. They're knocking on a 2-0.
You said it before, Papa. Who's going to get that first Baron this time? Once again, it is Afreeca, and it's not just that. It's 12,000 gold ahead right now. It was looking good as Fly is trying to carry this game so hard, but Afreeca just too far ahead.
It looks like another out-of-context ultimate, but it's just to get one member under turret, start a pick. Kuro's not going to be there and not have as easy a way to get into the fight, but it doesn't matter when these never moves are outrageous from Kramer, getting people, sniping them away. That is not an easy ability to hit. You're a Swain main yourself. An OG one as, okay, here we go.
We're going for more, and Spirit stole the third Infernal as well to add insult to injury. This game might as well just be GG. Keen is trying to face check 3 people, and he can. And wow, Afreeca have sent a message tonight. They are dominating Gen.G.
They have triple Infernal after the steal, double Righteous Glory, and a dead Kramer.
Not the first time he's done that when he's ahead. He makes it work, though, as, well, there's GP for you.
GPO goes big. Afreeca Freecs pushing through the mid lane. They've got the Baron buff. Doesn't matter, they have no siege. We said the spoiler was Baron buff. The 3 Infernals is a spoiler as well. Double spoiler means that Gen.G, their season might come crashing down in just a few seconds.
Yep, the script, it's written itself. Triple Infernal and Baron, not going to be able to stop this. Everybody going to be laughing in Zoe's face as she barely does any damage to the front line now. They're going to take out 2 inhibitors, not going to bite off more than they can chew. But it's gigantic here as 17,000. That's a big number. That's what we're looking at for 33 minutes.
Oh boy, 500 gold lead, a minute action here. Afreeca Freecs, we missed this part. Came in, easy smite. Ambition has had a day to forget in the jungle today.
Yes.
And then from there, how are you going to juke? Double Righteous Glory, Predator, a GP and a Yasuo who just wants to give you love, the love of his blade, the only love he knows. Guru closes out that kill. Afreeca Freecs ready to close out this game. Gen.G slow and steady wins the race. Seems like that was a myth. Seems like the tortoise lost on this day. The hare is going straight to the finish line before the tortoise can even see it.
It's been immaculate from Afreeca. Outside of a couple of mistakes from Kramer, they've just been perfect, basically. I mean, they're drafting. They've out-drafted Gen.G. The draft from Gen.G this time around is pretty good. You know, that's why it's standard, but Afreeca have just played better as well. And this is the result, guys. Triple Infernal. If you're a Gen.G fan and you're tuning in now, sorry about that, because this is not your night.
Not going to be a long one either. Such a huge goal lead. Remember, it's 16,000 plus 24% of efficiency on most of the item purchases. So, you know, you start doing the math there, it's over 20,000 in some ways. It's a huge, huge lead here for Afreeca Freecs. And I just don't think there's any way around it. You could botch a few fights and still get that right last blade. Last breath, game's over.
Yep. We need a hand issue or some other bigger kind of issue for Afreeca for them to lose this one. Kind of see the writing on the wall. I can see the outline of that GG becoming thicker and thicker as well. Now they're looking for another engage. Deucin misses again, and the never move is going to go wide too. They're trying to fight, and Deucin is going to have to pop his ultimate. Kuro gets low as well. Got to be careful not to just throw the fights. We talk about already the game being over, but you got to be careful. A shot to the face of Zoe and a barrel to CoreJJ. Maybe now is their moment to push in as the base is just being torn apart.
Not often that these melee champions can make your health explode from range, but GP can do it. Another great performance from Keen. He's back in form. Base broken by Afreeca Freecs.
I don't know what it is about the playoffs, but certainly Afreeca do, as they have the magic sauce. They've come in and they have obliterated Gen.G in 2 games. Looking for that tutorial victory you always talk about, the 3rd inhibitor, looking to go down here for Afreeca.
You don't have siege, you have to take down all 3 inhibitors to actually cause the game to end. Here we go!
What, they get the knock up there onto Fly, but Kuro is going to have his GA pop, but just so much extra damage from everybody else as Keen takes out the Gnar. They're going to get Fly as well. A double kill now to Keen. He's not going to be the MVP, but he's playing like it here at the end. Afreeca are just unbelievably ahead at this point. They're looking to push on in, and it looks like they're going to be the team that's going up against Kingzone on Wednesday, as there is just no hope. Another engage comes in, Ambition goes down again. They want to take everybody out here, and they will. Just CoreJJ is going to survive on the backside. Cannon Barrage will not do it, in the 2-0 victory to Afreeca Freecs here in the wild card matchup. A huge upset, and they're able to pull it off tonight.
4 wild card series in a row. Afreeca Freecs had won 0 games and lost 8. They made it to the finals, didn't have to play in the wild card in spring season. They seem annoyed that they had to today. They were not one of the teams joint top 4 in the league. We had rank 1 at 13-5, rank 4 Gen.G at 13-5. Afreeca Freecs come in at 10-8, say no worries, mate, and smash Gen.G. in just outrageous fashion. They also do it in the way that they did before Rift Rivals. After Rift Rivals trying to conform to the meta, they were 4-6. They looked a bit off the pace. Aiming wasn't working out. They bring back Kramer, and they just smash Gen.G. Gen.G was already thinking about how they had the good matchup into King Zone in the first best of 5. Sorry, no best of 5s for you until the Worlds qualifier. Gen.G will be there. In fact, given that they have 20 points and SKT have 30 points, Gen.G will actually have the side selection in 2 games. SKT will finish above them in championship points and have the side selection in a 3, I believe. Regardless, that should be our first match of the Worlds qualifier. It'll be the World Finals rematch of Gen.G versus SKT in over a month's time.
Only one of them can go, which means we're going to have a potential new team make it on in as well. A huge story developing here in Korea as Afreeca are gigantic dark horses. They take out Gen.G. They're going to be going up against King Zone. I'm just looking at my notes here. They did lose 2 times to King Zone, so once again, they need to go up against what should be a stronger opponent and take them out.
Looking at championship points, I believe Afreeca might actually get side selection because it's biased towards summer points, and thus they would be at 30, and SKT also at 30 from the spring season, but we'll get that confirmation later. The Worlds qualifier is a long way away. Today is what we're talking about for Afreeca Freecs. The moment that Ruler flashed in and didn't get the kill, a quintessentially non-Ruler thing to do. This guy plays safety first, flashed in and thought, I could be the first kill, I could be the one to actually bring us back in this series. Instead, he was the first death, and it all just went downhill from Afreeca Freecs from there.
Tucson, he had a really big engage in the mid game. A lot of his other engages weren't on point, but it was just Spirit able to show up at the right times. It was really good coordination, I would say, as a team from the side of Afreeca as they were able to take him out here. Cortege went down. This is the engage I was talking about, as Tucson is definitely back in a form, at least on the Alistair. Looked really good tonight.
Everyone was flashing in for more kills. I think at this point, Afreeca Freecs knew only one way to go is forward, especially when you have the early game to back it up. This was after a questionable Cask into headbutt pulverize play. This one made a lot more sense. They got Ambition. He went down. Ambition had no fun today at all. Who will be the starting jungler for Gen.G when we see them next? Will they actually stick with Ambition in a month's time, or will Haru be back on the Rift? You'll have to wonder. No substitutions from Gen.G, but no luck at all. The world champions still going to have to fight through that Worlds qualifier if they have a shot to make it to the Worlds again. And it's going to be a long race. This was Kuro making his lunch, eating it, and saying, damn, that was some delicious Zoe.
Baited him, actually, with the cleanse. He didn't use it until the Zoe got close enough, and the max range knockup was there. This is why we see Yasuo banned out against Kuro. You cannot give them this kind of composition. This is definitely, we were talking about Gen.G compositions. This is the Afreeca one, as they also gave over Gragas to Spirit and GP up to the top lane. It was just a pretty ugly one there, and Afreeca rolled with it really nicely.
And then Gen.G on the red side, let's hold them accountable. We were not enthused with how lifeless the last round was. The last pick Zoe into Yasuo. It's not a fantastic matchup. They picked last pick for comp, rather than making a comp like we saw from Afreeca Freecs on the red side with the Quinn. Gen.G tried to do what they always do, and you know what? Afreeca Freecs were ready and then some to punish them for it.
Game ends with an over 20,000 gold lead for Afreeca. Kramer on the Swain.
Definitely.
Every single never move outside of one. He's going to get his first MVP of the postseason here. Might even be his first MVP overall for Summer, but not 100% sure. But it looks like a 4-hour interview today. It's actually going to be Kuro and the head coach instead of the second MVP. So good play from Kramer, but won't be hearing from him.
And I believe it's captain and head coach as the general thing here. So Kuro is captain of Afreeca Freecs. Kramer's got his bag on. He knows his job is done, and I think it's time for some translation.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to G-Sun. She'll help out with the translation.
Thank you very much. This is Jason with your interpret translations, and today we're joined by Kuro, the captain of Afreeca Freecs, and head coach Yeonsung Choi. I love O. So it was a game, and turned out Afreeca Freecs is the one going up to the first round of playoffs. Congratulations. Thank you. It was a short game and 2-0 victory. How do you guys feel?
별 생각 없이 왔는데
Well, I just did my best to get rid of the pressures, and it turned out really nice, so I feel happy.
저희는 이제 잃을 게 없는데
Well, we got nothing to lose, but Gen.G has a really nice score, so I think they were a little bit nervous going into the games. Yeah, I think they had some more pressure than us. So Kuro, you finally got rid of your wildcard curse. So how did you kind of pull off today's game? I think our competition was really good. I think all 5 players were doing their best. But the first set, Gen.G almost turned the game around and about to close out the whole thing. What went through head at that moment? Well, I felt like we were not losing at all. We had really strong team composition. So if we just stick to our own plans, I think we were okay. I think I had faith in our teammates. So, what was going through your mind when Gen.G was about to turn the game around?
저희 선수단에 기대감을 갖지 말고 좀 부담을 없게.
Well, I just did my best to get rid of the players' pressures. But to be honest, seeing them losing out, I almost got mad. Because we can hear the calls from the players in the waiting room, but I could hear like the players encouraging each other and cheering up. So I think that seeing the players trusting themselves was something really important today. So I think the teamwork was the main key for today's victory. And another question is that I think all the players were performing so well. And who do you think that deserved the biggest credit for today's victory? I think Kuro, as a captain, well, all the players in our teams, sometimes they cannot play up to their full potential. And if they fix those kind of weakness, I thought that we can show the full potential. And I think as a captain, I think Kuro pulled that off really well. And your next opponent is obviously Kingzone Dragon X. And I think it's time for Afreeca for their revenge. So how are you going to prepare for that series? Well, I don't want too much pressure or expectation on our side. And you know, it's best of 5. And we're gonna go in as let's give it a try. We might lose, but I mean, I'm just trying my best to not be too shaken by the results. We're going to do our best, but I'm just trying to make sure to get rid of all the pressures. I think today, everything was about pressure in your own mind. Then what about you, Kuro? Going back to practice right away as soon as you get back to home?
아니요, 원래 대회 날 연습을 하면 연습이 잘 안 돼요.
Well, it's not good to have a practice after a matchup. We have to relax for today.
두뇌회전이 되지 않나?
Yeah, we need some time to recover.
감독님 오늘 좀 쉰다는데요?
Is that okay?
쉬는 거고 저희
Of course, I have to take a rest.
이거 얘가 제 이미지를 이렇게 만들었는데.
I think Kuro is kind of blaming me, but I'm not a pusher for the player.
하고 싶어서. 이런 거를 저는 되게
I want to see players willing to practice by themselves.
S급이 될 수 없어요. 그러니까 좀 스스로 하는
I think all the players need self-motivations.
입술을 꼭 다물고 아무 말씀 안 하시는 것 같은 느낌이 있는데 오늘 정말 잘했기 때문에
Well, and today you guys showed great performance and that kind of deserve some kind of relax as players.
팀원들 너무나 잘해줬잖아요.
And lastly, as a captain of your team, is there any message for your teammates?
일단 저희는 뭐 잃을 게 없어요.
We got nothing to lose.
8패였나?
Our results were like 10 wins and 8 losses, and we were on the 5th place.
저희는 잃을 게 없어요.
We got nothing to lose.
되게 아쉽겠지만 13승 5패를 해서.
Well, the teams in the upper ranks, they might be so nervous about the playoffs, but we got nothing to lose. So we're just trying to be comfortable for everything. So I'll be looking for continued support from our fans.
어떻게 보면 진짜 잃을 게 없을 때 사람이 가장 강해진다고도 하잖아요. 이런 모습들이 앞으로의 아프리카 프릭스 더
So
강한
I hope to see great performance on the upcoming matches, and this will be the end of the interview with Kuro and Yeonsung Choi from Afreeca Freecs, and I will pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Well, that was a quick one, guys. The 2-0 victory, 47 minutes, 36 minutes, and all the while it was just looking like Samsung, they didn't show up to play, right? It's, I call them Samsung, but basically the same team, you know, Gen.G coming in here, really just having trouble in playoffs again. They're going to go down to Afreeca, and Afreeca, as Kuro said, with nothing to lose, play like it with nothing on the line. We'll see how they can do against KingZone.
It's MoTV's final broadcast of this playoffs will be on Wednesday. You and I will bring a rematch of another SpoTV final. That was the spring final. This is also some information about this season's finals. It will be the Incheon Samsun World Gymnasium. Big thing for you guys to know, don't worry about the Korean text. The last final played there was KT Rolster versus SKT, spring final of 2017. So a cool venue, one we've been to before. Should be a great final, but yeah, we get that rematch of the spring final in the next round. Afreeca Freecs just downloaded Gen.G and bettered them. So interesting to see what they make of KingZone, because right now, if I download the KingZone of the last 2 weeks, I find it pretty hard watching because they are looking really, really good.
It's like where you wake up from the download and you're just crying.
You're like, okay, I got this Gen.G thing.
No. I didn't want to see that.
Maybe you watch it in like little clips. I need to leave this one over here. I'm going to go back to watching anime. Like this anime is a lot nicer here.
And that's really hype too, because Afreeca, I said it before, gigantic, just dark horses. They're not supposed to defeat Gen.G. They're not supposed to defeat KingZone. And then KingZone going up against Griffin and KT. There are so many strong teams up at the top. We really can't predict one team to win it at this point.
And Afreeca are still mathematically able to go to Worlds on points. Remember, they were second place in spring season. If they beat KingZone, they go to the final, it might just be KT and Afreeca coming in just with circuit points. I'm not 100% clear on that. I was able to confirm the first round of the Worlds qualifier. SKT versus Gen.G. Gen.G higher seed because of more points in summer season. But damn, there's not much to pick between the two. And there's going to be some real tough opposition to play after that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that both of the two teams that were in the Worlds finals are not going to make Worlds.
Or not even the final stage of the Worlds qualifier.
Yeah. Probably not. I mean, after what we saw today, we'll see if Gen.G can bring it back in their amazing Worlds qualifiers play. But with all these strong teams, I'm not so sure, Papa.
Well, guys, the music's starting. We'll be back on Wednesday. No LCK till Wednesday. Go watch some LPO. Go have some fun. But this playoffs, if that's the start of it, I don't know where it's going to end.
It's been an exciting start. We'll hope that the rest of the games are awesome as well. And Wednesday is going to be a big one, right? Best of 5 that time around. It's going to be really big. We'll see if KingZone can take out Afreeca and actually win once again. They have a good record against them. That's what we would expect, but hey, you never know. But that's going to do it for us, guys. We'll see you next time. Good night.
It's been many days, many many ways misled, knowing that I'm tiptoeing on both sides of the fence, trying to figure it out, but I'm living in doubt. So scared one day that your grace might run out, cause I'm so far from perfect, so close to worthless, feeling no good for worship, trying to understand this life that you purchased. Am I just a man destined for death, or do I deserve it? You died for my sins and that's the verdict. You carried out God's true will and purpose with urgency for the sake of love, forgiveness and eternity. Your grace is enough. I got so many questions, so many things to change. I'm calling out, but sometimes you're far away. I get discouraged and seem to always fall flat, but that's when you pick me up and bring me back.